Ladies, gentlemen, ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages, and everything in between, you know who it is. It is the kid, Just, aka Uncle Pizza, the pizza freak, always resonating at the pizza frequency. I love talking about pizza. I love making pizza, but mostly I love sharing pizza with people that I give a shit about. Oh, yeah, I said it. I give a shit about them. Mother stinkers that I want to break some bread with. That's the gig. That's the gig. And I have a sneaking suspicion that you too, my friends, you also resonated, said pizza frequency, or why else would you be here? And where is here? Here we are. This is this okay, here's the dealio. I'm gonna kick it. I'm gonna one time kick it, Kyle. Neapolitan. Done. Check. Neo-Neapolitan. Done. Check. NY Stilly. Check. Where are we going to next, ladies and gents? Where are we headed? We're going to the dirty deepers. Yeah, the dirty deeps. I don't really know what that means. Evidently, we're going to do some higher hydration. I think we're going to push up the hydration a little bit. Noel, using his new toy, the Uni Hello. That's I'm doing my halo. It's my halo. The Uni Halo. I'm not 100% on the hydrato, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. So we've done 3 classes now: Neo, New York, and so now today we're going to do some deep dish pizza. We're going to do the mix. We're going to chit chat. Noel's going to run you through the menus, not the menus, but run you through the old mix map and the recipe. We're going to talk about the road ahead, what's happening. And Noel will be using Leaven Foods, magical microbes. The instant sourdough, I believe. I'm not sure if he's going to use the AP or the sourdough one. Wild sourdough, wild grains, wild. But we will get to the bottom of it together. If you've never been here, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back, my friends. Thank you for taking a momo. That's a moment, a little momo out of your day to come hang with some fellow dough dorks, pizza geek faces, because that is what we are. So I'm really excited. We're going to do a mix. We're going to talk about the mix. Please, please, please have your crayons and your pencils ready. I want you to take some notes. There will not be a test. But remember, we're big on note taking, because if you make the best pizza that you ever made in your life, or you want to learn some technique, you want to apply that technique in your kitchen, your home kitchen, your professional kitchen, your commissary kitchen, wherever it may be, you're going to want to know how we did it. And if you make bad pizza, you're going to want to know what not to do as well. Okay, that's the gig. You know the deal. If you do have questions, go ahead, throw it in the old chat. We've got the big brain people from Leaven Foods, Jimmy and Cam, who will be joining us. They're here. They're here. They're going to talk about the microbes and what's going on. Talk about the recipes that they've got. Talk about the dough calculator that they've got on the website. We're gonna run through it. So if you do have specific questions, feel free to throw them into the chat. Everyone should be able to use the chat. I think that those are new settings. Always new settings on the Zoom. Had a little hiccup today. We had an update today. A couple lines were crossed, but hopefully there was no issue with you, my friends. So without any further to do, oh yes, and if you are watching this, if you're welcome. Hey, look, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't be afraid to like and subscribe. There we go. Already have. Are we supposed to receive the recipe in our email? No. But we will be asking you to write the recipe down with your pen and your pencil as we go over it. Dun, 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 dun. Without any further to do, I'm going to bring him on. The man, the myth, the legend. He was scrambling a little bit. Day got away with him. That's okay. It's the nature of the bee's knees, people. Noel, Mr. Slow Rise himself. No Slow Rise Pizza Brohner. Come on. Oh, how's that blue bell kicking?
I love it.
There we go. Blue
Makes me
Bella
happy.
Pizzaness. Blue Bella
Every
Pizzaness.
every time I see it, it makes me happy, Justin.
Check out this little candle that I got.
Is that a pizza candle?
It's a little pizza candle, huh? Oh, pretty cool, huh?
Very
You
cool.
think
I don't know
you think
where
that's
do you
the
find this
basil?
stuff?
I don't know. People know that I like pizza, so all my adoring fans, they just send me stuff. So
You have
if you're,
fans?
oh, big time, pizza fans. No, it's like my aunt and uncle.
I like it.
They're considered pizza fans. How are you doing? What's going on? What are you writing
Well,
down? What's the word?
I'm writing down the recipe. People are asking, like, do we
Oh
get the
yeah.
recipe in advance? I'm like, no, because I'm writing it now.
Now, see, this is the way Noel works. He's so ingrained. He just pulls recipes out of his brain.
No.
He lives, eats, breathes, snorts this pizza. So Noel, you're gonna let us
Yes,
know. You're gonna let us know what the recipe is. Or you just
I am.
working it out right
No,
now.
actually, I actually made it yesterday, but what I
Okay.
like to do is I like to pre-write the recipe
Mhm.
so that I'm not doing too much writing while I'm mixing.
Yeah, I know. I understand. Just a few notes, maybe some times and temps while we're mixing.
Yeah.
Hey, I missed you last week. Monday, we had a Monday off.
Finally,
I know, right? She's been working me to the bone. Did you have a good Memorial Day? Was it Memorial?
it was Memorial.
Good.
What'd you do,
Well,
Justin?
I went to a little barbecue, a little BBQ in a place that I like to call Santa Monica.
Oh, nice. Anybody
Yes.
anybody I know?
You might know a couple of those heads, but these are people that I had pizza parties with before, people that had done some podcasts with before, and they're friends with one of your buddies, the pizza girl, and they were saying,
The Pizza Girl.
you know Pizza Girl, Pizza Girl. I've seen you on Food Network Food Stars.
Are you talking about Inez?
No, Pizza Girl, not
Oh, wait a minute.
Inez,
You're
not
talking about
Inez.
the woman from Brooklyn?
No,
Oh, Pizza Girl. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Oh,
How could
the
I have
Pizza Girl.
forgotten Caroline? How? How could I?
Caroline, Pizza Girl. She's got like a little oven now, and she
I
took
know.
over Hotel Irwin. So that's
I
our
sh-
friend. Noel worked with her on. Hey, look, since you're not going to brag, I'm going to brag for you. A little Food Stars with Gordo Ramzo. Name
Rings a
dropping.
bell. Rings a bell. Rings a bell.
Name dropping.
He drops my name all the time, I hear.
Gordo?
Not.
Oh yeah,
Never.
Gordo's like, he's like, that guy Noel Brohner. He really knows his pizza. Mother bleep blop.
Well, you know what? You know
Expletive,
what's funny about
expletive.
that show is that I saw a bunch of the B-roll, and he was talking all kinds of like nice things about me, and yet we never actually met. We crossed paths. His golf cart, my golf cart, me going
yes.
east, him going west, me going north, him going south.
Yes.
There was a look. There might have been a half wave on my part. He did.
Yeah.
He was like, "Who's that widow waving at me?"
Yeah,
Oh wait,
how about some
that's
winking?
the what?
Was there a little bit of this?
No, he did not wink at me. No. Yeah, he might have had a little fly in his eye. That might have been that.
Maybe.
I gotta say,
Mhm.
I've been watching him for a long time, and when I got the call to do it, I did it.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't honestly. I'm not a fan of live T. I'm a fan of live Zoom.
Live tea.
Live TV, I'm not a fan.
Oh,
See, Justin,
Little can-
you're a pro.
little
You've
can
got
for you.
chops. If I said to you, Justin, do that opening 6 times in a row, 6 different ways, and don't forget to smile, you would nail it every time. I got one way and no smile. What am I going to do? What are they going to do with that?
I disagree. I've seen you grow. All the time spent with me on
Such
Zoom.
a lie. Yeah, well,
All the time
thanks to
spent
you,
with me
I'm
on
picking up.
Zoom. I think
That's
you're.
it. That's what it is. It's revving off.
Some little chops here and there. Well,
all right, so Justin, let's do this.
Okay.
We started a minute late. I apologize. We never start a minute late. That's me.
That was Noel. That was all on Noel. I was standing by, guys. I was standing by.
This was a crazy Monday. I was up at 5 a.m. and I still was a minute late to the Zoom. I was up at 5. I was at the gym at 5:30. I was at the pool at 7. I got it started.
Usually you're up at 4, so you actually slept in today. I am,
It was a
hey,
Monday, though. It was a Monday.
that's right, that's right.
It was
Did
a
you get to,
Monday.
yeah, you spend some QT with the family last night, family dinner?
We had a great time.
Great, good,
I have
good.
one nephew that graduated from Columbia and a niece that graduated high school here in LA. So it was a double
Oh,
graduation party.
nice. Well, good,
Yeah,
good, good,
it was
good.
fun.
So you said you made the dough yesterday. You did a
Yeah,
trial run. How did it
yeah.
go?
So
What do you
let's do
think?
this.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, thank you for that question. I will definitely cover it. Let's do a little recap of what we've done the last couple of weeks for people who may not have been here. I
Yeah.
see a lot of people who have been here, so thank you all for returning. But for those who haven't, here's what we've been doing. All right. Correct me if I misstate anything, Justin.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
I know you will. All right. So the first session we did a Neapolitan session, right?
Mhm.
And we chose to do Neapolitan because I am a proponent of using time as the secret ingredient, right? And so what I love about the Neapolitan recipe is that the inclusion rate, whether it's yeast or levain or magic microbes from Leaven Foods, the inclusion rate is very low. So we were able to leave the dough out at ambient temperature or room temperature for as many as 30 hours, right? Depending on what your temperature was.
Right.
So I was lucky. I was in Santa Monica. It was around 60, so I was able to go 24 plus.
Hmm.
Some people I know struggled with that. I've
Yep.
been getting a lot of emails from people
Yep.
who live in hotter neighborhoods.
If
Yep.
it's 80 degrees, you got it
Yeah.
right. Those are the variables in the pizza equation. Hey,
There we go.
real quick, tell them
Yeah.
about your little wine fridge too. That's helping.
Yeah, that's helping. So yeah, so the way I was able to keep that going was that I think I had it set at 60 or 65,
Mhm.
and so I put it right in there, and it worked like a charm.
Yeah,
Worked
if
like
you've
a
spent
charm.
any time with us back pandemo, Zooms, and all that stuff, we've been big proponents of consistency with temperature. It's tough to regulate. However, if you go to Facebook Marketplace and you find like $100 wine fridge, that can help you out if you really want to dial it in. So, no.
That's right. So anyway, we did the Neapolitan one week, and I thought it was really good.
Hmm.
We were able to do, like I said, about a 30-hour ambient temperature, and I think what I ended up doing was about 24 hours in bulk, and then 8 hours or so balled. But there's a
Hmm.
lot of ways to do it. Most people that go that are Neapolitan, they don't do such a long bulk. I know some people do, some people don't. My friend Jonathan at Spocca Napoli, who kind of inspired the recipe, he doesn't do more than about 2 hours in bulk at the most,
Yeah.
and then he balls his dough, and then he puts it into a basically the equivalent of a wine fridge, but it's a it's a temperature controlled room in his basement that holds around between 60 and 65 that I helped him design
Hmm.
way back when, and he's able to go 24 to 30 hours, and then if he needs to, he'll either bring it upstairs and bake it off or put it in the walk-in and slow down the fermentation. So
Interesting. Yeah.
it's a great recipe. We got really good results. And then the next set of recipes had to do not with Neapolitan, but with Neo-Neapolitan.
New Neapolitan. New Neapolitan.
So we doubled the inclusion rate from the first Neapolitan
Hmm.
recipe. And basically we did the same thing, but we did a somewhat shorter room temperature rise, and then I used some refrigeration, which is
Hmm.
always good. But you don't have to. You can just go, 16, 18, 24 hours and then use it.
Right.
I like to go pretty long on the bulk myself to get a little more structure, a little better crumb, but that's
Hmm.
just me. There's lots of ways to do it. And so I believe we have variations on both those recipes on the website at Leaven Foods. And then the third week, which was 2 weeks ago, we did a New York recipe. And again, we doubled the inclusion rate. That's kind of the theme for every week,
And
right?
are we doing that this week? We're doubling from
We're
last time.
doing that this week,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, great.
So just going back, the Neapolitan recipe was the equivalent of what was it, 2.5% levain.
Let me see. Yeah.
Yeah. The Neo-Neapolitan was the equivalent of about 5% levain. The New York recipe was the equivalent of about 10% levain. See the double, double, double each time.
Hmm.
For
Hmm.
people who are not using sourdough, it would have been the equivalent of 0.025% instant dry yeast. Good, Justin, for the
Get my
Neapolitan.
notes. Yeah.
0.05% instant dry yeast for the Neo-Neapolitan, and 0.1% instant dry yeast for the New York,
Hmm.
right? So now we're going to double the New York recipe, and we're going to go for the equivalent of 20% levain or 0.2 IDY. And we're adding a new wrinkle, Justin.
Yeah.
We're not just using the instant sourdough all-purpose, but we're doing a blend of instant sourdough and wild yeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
And
the last time on the New York, we also did a Poolish.
That's right. So what I've been doing this week is I've been kind of playing around. So the first thing I did earlier in the week was I did what we call a straight dough, and I put the mix of microbes 50-50, right? The equivalent of 0.1 or 10% levain in using all-purpose, and the equivalent of 0.1 IDY or 10% levain using the wild yeast. So a 50-50 mix.
Okay.
And I did that one just to see how it worked.
Now, it is called a straight dough because there are no pre-ferments.
There are no pre-ferments. The instant yeast, right, or the instant sourdough is in place of the pre-ferment, which is how the product was designed.
And often that's traditional, like that's a lot of doughs. When you just add the yeast, the IDY or the ADY, it's just a straight dough, everybody.
That's right. That's right. So, as I've said in prior classes, a lot of people have been saying, well, what if I want to use a Poolish? What if I want to use a Biga? What if I want to make a levain? What if I want to do this? And we're like, all right, hold on. So last week, what I did was not last week, but the last class, I did a Poolish that was a 4-hour Poolish. Guess what I did today? Guess.
Did 8.
Nope.
6?
Yes. I did this one, which started at 10 a.m. What time is it now?
It's 5:18.
So that's coming up on 7 hours.
Okay.
And this one is 12 p.m.
Oh, nice.
What time is it?
You did 12 p.m. last night?
No.
Oh, this afternoon.
Yeah. Oh. So I've got 2 Poolishes right here, Justin.
Let me see them. Let me see them. Wow. So oh yeah, they look pretty good.
So here's one, and James, we can go over this later, but James told me that the shorter Poolish will rise faster, and the longer time span Poolish will rise, yes. But I've been kind of experimenting, and they have equal leavening power, but what we're trying to do some kind of like experimenting on is, pH and things like that. So with the New York pizza that I did 2 weeks ago, I kind of fooled around and I left the dough in the fridge for up to a week to see if the pH ever got too much. And guess what?
In bulk or ball?
Yeah, in bulk. In bulk.
Wow.
Just as an experiment, because, I know a lot of pizza makers like to go long on fermentation.
Sure.
Or a lot of shop owners, they make a dough on Monday and tend to use it on a Wednesday, and maybe it rains, maybe it snows, who knows what could happen.
Right.
And they don't end up using their dough for 4, 5, 6 days. So I wanted to kind of stress test the dough and see what happened.
So did you end up baking it?
I did.
Was there any discernible flavor differences?
Here was the thing that I was really impressed with. Even though the pH dropped below 4.1, and I'm sorry if I'm getting a little wonky for people, which is really, you don't want to go much lower than that, or you're getting into like San Francisco sourdough, super sour. It did dip below 4.1. It was down just below 4.0, but guess what? It was not too sour.
Wasn't overpowering. Huh?
It wasn't overpowering, and also sometimes what happens when you go long on fermentation, even with commercial yeast, is you get off flavors, and I would no off flavors. So I'm glad that worked out, because now if somebody says to me this happened or that happened, I can say, oh, I tried the same thing. I wonder why you're getting different results than I get.
Interesting.
So let's see. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do a pan pizza. And before we get to the mix, which I'd like to try to start maybe around 5:30.
Okay.
I want to discuss that a pan pizza is kind of a general term for lots of different pan pizzas. Name me one pan pizza that you like, Justin.
I grew up eating Pizza Hut.
Okay, but what style of pan pizza? Don't give me the brand name.
Okay. Yes, I like Detroit style, which I would say is a pan pizza. I also like
one at a time. So what I'm going to do today is I've got 4 8x10 Detroits panned up and ready to go.
Oh, 4. Okay, great.
Yep. And we could do. Justin,
I
let me
ask?
finish. No,
Okay.
you cannot.
Oh,
So listen, I've got 4 pizzas that are 8 by 10 ready to go. And I also have about a 9-inch round,
mhm.
which is going to function as our first bake. And I'm going to put next to nothing on it. It's not
Great.
going to be so much of a pizza as maybe pizza nata, maybe a little bit of cheese, maybe a little bit of Malden. You know how I
Okay.
roll, Justin.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds delicious.
And then we're going to do a few different variations on the theme. I don't know if we'll cook off all 4, but
Mhm.
I've got 4 on deck ready to go. Sorry, what were you going to ask?
No, I was just gonna say. I was gonna ask how long have they? When did you pan them? How long have they been sitting out?
Well, why would you interrupt me when you know I'm going to tell you that anyway?
Well, I just wanted to know in the moment. I'm
Too
chomping at the
bad.
bit.
Too bad. Don't be jumping ahead on me, Justin.
You look.
I
You
know
got to
you
keep
have a
up with
big
me.
you have a big brain.
You got to keep up with me.
No, no, no. You don't have to not get ahead of me.
No, no,
This is
no, no,
all.
no, no, no,
No, no, no, no, no.
no, no.
I'm calling mom and dad in if we
Yeah,
can't
I
settle this
know.
alone.
I know. Don't make me turn this car around. Don't make me turn the Zoom around. Okay? Don't make
We'll
me
get to
do it.
we'll get to all that. Don't
All
worry
right, all
about
right,
that.
all
I've
right,
got
all right.
I'm tracking everything. All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Good. So let's talk about this. So we started off with Detroit. Remind me while we have extra time. Let's name a couple other pan pizza styles that we're going to get to later, so we can talk about some of the
Okay.
similarities and differences.
So grandma style, which
Grandma,
and that's traditionally there's no rise on that. It's kind of put it
you're
into the
getting ahead of
pan.
yourself. I'm not
Okay.
asking you to do
Uh,
anything but name the different styles.
Roman style,
We could
right?
talk about Roman, but that's going to be another class.
Okay.
Give me another American style. See if you can
Uh,
think of one.
oh, Chicago style.
We could do Chicago style. What about Sicilian? Do you consider that an American style?
I don't because it's called Sicilian.
It's called Sicilian. You're right the first time.
Sicilian. So
Yeah.
I mean, what like traditional like I mean I want to say like a like the like American style would be Detroit style deep dish, and then like what was considered deep dish, which is more of like a Roman-ish style that has the ring around it, right? Wouldn't you
Justin,
say that?
no, I would not say that. Don't put words in my mouth. Here's the
What
thing.
would you
Here's the
say?
thing.
You give me another.
Good, good,
Okay,
good. I
okay.
put you on the spot there.
Yeah.
Now you're going to put me on the spot. This is
I
fair.
want to know. I want to know.
And then do me a favor. Remind me in 2 minutes. I got to heat up some water for the mix. Okay.
Copy that.
Good. So here's what I would say about Sicilian, because this is a point that you can take both sides on it. But for me, if you go to Sicily and you ask for a Sicilian pizza, you're going to get nothing like what you get if you go to New York City and ask for a Sicilian, or even most places in LA and ask for a Sicilian.
A lot of people call it an upside down. Is that correct?
Some people call it an upside down. That's kind of a modern parlance, if you will.
I will. I will.
You will. Good. So here's the thing. In Sicily, they don't have, I mean, they do have Sicilian style people. They call it sfincione, and it's nothing like the American style Sicilian. It's like French fries, right? The
Not
French fries
French.
we have here,
Not French.
not French. I mean, they
Not
do
French.
have pomme frites when you go to Paris, and I know
Oh,
you've
yeah.
been to Paris many times. I don't have to
Oh
tell you.
gosh, I spent so much time in Gay
So
Parade.
much time. So much
Me and
time.
the Eiffel Tower were like this.
You're like this. Yeah.
I got drunk on on cheap wine and that
I hope you're going to
baguettes
finish this
when I
with
was 96.
in Gay Paris.
In 96. We were there
In Paris?
in Gay Paris. Oh yeah. Drinking.
Oh yeah.
I
Justin, I don't
wasn't
know.
21.
I want to see
so
your passport.
I was
Before the end of the
drinking.
class, I want to see your passport.
Passport's long gone. That was 1996.
What does that mean?
The
They had
year.
passports and air travel in '96.
But I mean, you have to as an actor, you have to get your passport updated regularly.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
So
that.
I don't, you gotta.
I
I mean,
see.
not
Even I learned
regularly.
something in this
You gotta
class.
make sure that your passport's. If you
All
gotta
right.
book
All
a
right.
gig, you gotta fly somewhere. You gotta have a passport. So
All right.
I don't know.
So
I don't really.
let's do this. Let's do
hold
this.
on
We're
to
going to
it.
continue this conversation. This is going to be a pretty long class, but
I need you to heat up some water.
Thank you. I'll be right back. Hold down the proverbial Zoom fort, would you
All
please?
right. Yes. If anybody wants to help me think of deep dish style pizzas, go ahead and put them in the chat because I know like there's. I mean, what would you call like a Pizza Hut style pizza? Like that's just like I grew up eating that. That's that the pizza cognition theory, right? I love it. Back when people were like be smoking cigarettes and getting pitchers of beer. Let me know. Let me know. They don't have cheese to the edge. No cheese to the edge.
What are we talking about, Justin?
I'm talking about like Pizza Hut pizza. Stop.
As soon as I leave, you start go back to Pizza Hut, huh?
I'm trying to figure out stuffed, I don't know,
All
stuffed
right, all right,
crust.
all right.
They call it pan pizza. Yeah, pan pizza. But we're trying to figure out what kind is it, Chris? What kind?
Yeah.
Here. I like the tenets of Detroit are like the Frico crust versus like just a pan pizza, which has the ring of crust around it, just like a normal pizza. So I don't know. I like them both. I like them both.
Good. All right, so Justin, I'm gonna
Yeah.
give me a. I set a little timer for myself.
You have
I'm gonna
3
give
minutes
it.
till we start the mix. You want to go over this recipe?
Well, I'm gonna give myself 2 minutes before before I go back. I'm gonna probably check it once in between because
Oh,
the
your
flame's
water?
pretty high. Yeah, I don't want it to get too hot.
Uh-uh.
But you know what? I have been doing some pretty crazy stress testing. So when I did the mix yesterday, I actually heated up the water pretty darn hot to
How
about
hot?
115. 115.
Wow. And you
So
mixed with 115 water. Huh?
yeah. And you know what was interesting? The thing about these microbes that I'm noticing is that I feel like I get a lot, especially for a next day dough. I feel like I get much better results if I mix hot.
Oh.
And so
With the
where
microbes.
with the microbes, that's one of the things that I think is somewhat different between our product and the commercial yeast. And remind me to quiz Cameron and James about this because I know that they're constantly making improvements, and James is doing a lot of R&D, and Cameron too. So I want to see what they've been up to lately, and I want to see if what I'm finding is what they're finding.
Okay.
But a couple of things. So, to get the pH down as far as we want it in just 24 hours, I like to mix hot so that the dough comes out of the mixer between 80 and 85. And also, if my room is in the 70s or even in the low 80s, if I do a 2 to 4 hour bulk, right, or if I leave the dough out for 2 to 4 hours, it's going to get down to 80. Yesterday, it came down to 78.
Yeah.
So just because it starts hot, it's okay. And that's one of the big differences between sourdough and commercial yeast.
Commercial yeast, right? Because
Yeah.
if you start too hot with commercial yeast, the fermentation gets away from you. But with the sourdough microbes, doesn't seem like that's the case.
Not so much. Now,
So-
the higher we get in terms of inclusion rate, the less that's going to be the case.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, so that's about 2 minutes. Give me a momo, as you would say.
Okay, you got one Momo. Because we gotta get this boat on the Shomo. So DDT using the microbes, Noel said it first. DDT, for people who don't know, that is your desired dough temperature. That means what is the temperature that the dough comes out at the end of your mix, out of the bowl, right when your bulk begins. Mix stop, check the temp, bulk start. So he said 80 to 85. So if you're keeping score and you got your Mortimers, write it down. DDT 80 to 85. I did it right here. Boom. And then I got that deep dish. This is my little notes over here. I'm going to ask the guys later. Mix hot? Mix hot? We got to ask the brainiacs, the smart guys, the money makers. I'm excited. I have been mixing in the Uni Halo 68% hydration. 68. So that'll be good. This will be fun.
All right.
Are
you with me?
Yep.
Yeah.
5:30.
Good. All right, so let's start talking about the mix and the recipe a little bit.
Let's go with the recipe first, and then we'll get to the mix. So this is, your flour is always going to be 100% in baker's percentage. Everything is based off the flour. What flours are you using in this mix, Noel?
Well, I've been changing it all the time. Today I'm using a mix of 2 different Carinspring mills.
I know her.
Flours. So these are our friends from Washington State, from, I believe, is it the Willamette Valley? I can never pronounce any of these.
Don't ask me. I'm serious. I can't pronounce anything. I'm the worst. I'm like,
you can't even pronounce Carinspring mills, can you?
No. Nope.
That's all right.
I can't read.
I don't know if it's Willamette or Willamette. It's probably neither.
Willamette.
Exactly. So you can do this with any flour that you like. I've done it with King Arthur bread flour. This time I'm doing it with 75% Glacier Peak, which I know you're a fan of.
Yeah, GP.
Yep. And I'm using 25% organic espresso, which is a type 85.
So 75% and then
75
25?
and 25, yeah.
Okay. Okay. The Glacier Peak is a type 70, and it's a bread flour, right? Yeah.
It's a bread
Glacier Peak.
flour, yeah.
So, and just real quick, why do you like to use the higher protein flours for a deeper dish pizza?
Well, that's a good question. Number one, I like to raise the hydration a little bit, and so I'm up around 70.
Mhm.
Also, because I'm using a Poolish, the Poolish makes the dough more extensible. So the dough that I made yesterday and the dough that I made the day before are super extensible, even with the
Nice.
higher protein flours. So let's see, the Cairnspring mills being plural. This one says 14 to 15%, which
That's
is pretty
espresso?
high.
That's
That's the
espresso.
espresso. And would you happen to know the Glacier Peak?
I think it's 13.
Yeah,
I
it
think it's
changes. I'm going to say 13 and a half,
yeah.
13, as high
It's
as
a little
14.
less. I've got a Trailblazer here. It's like Trailblazer's 13 to 14, and I think the Glacier Peak is like
A little less.
12.5 to
That's about
13.5.
right.
It's a little
Yeah,
less. It's a little
yeah.
less.
So
But
both of these are like the Glacier Peak's a little higher in bran and germ than the King Arthur bread flour, so it's going to take a little more water.
right.
And the Type 85 even higher and higher protein, so it's going to take a little more water.
Yeah, can you explain that to people? The Type 70 and Type 85, what that really means?
I have no idea, Justin.
Well, I think you do.
I have no idea.
So
Go ahead.
let's try to figure it out, because that means how much bran and germ they've left in the flour.
Yeah.
And a higher number means there's higher bran and germ still left in the milled flour. And
Yeah.
what Noel is saying is that the higher that amount, the more water they can kind of soak up, they can kind of sponge up. So
The higher the protein and the higher whether a Type 85, Type 75, the whole wheat is. I've seen it written a few ways. I would have considered it a Type 100, but I saw it on the website. They're 100% whole wheat. They're calling it a 170, which is double 85.
and that's the Cairnsprings?
Yeah, 170.
Whoa. I didn't that must be new. The whole wheat, huh? I haven't seen that. I didn't see it. I didn't know they were doing a whole wheat.
I love it. I love it.
I don't know. Okay, so flour, 100%. And you just
100%.
said H2O is 70%.
H2O is 70%, correct.
Great. Okay. And then we have a Poolish.
Then we have salt.
Okay, salt is...
Let's do the salt next.
Okay.
Now the salt, you can go anywhere you want. Usually for bread, it's anywhere from 1.8 to 2. Even 2.2%.
Yeah.
I'm going a little bit higher for the pan pizza. I'm going at 2.5%, but you can certainly do a straight 2% like many people do.
Okay, so flour 100, water 70, salt 2.5.
2.5.
Yes, Mike is saying Skagit Valley.
Skagit or Skagit.
Magic
Yeah,
Skagit. They
Thank
still
you,
have that
Mike.
one? Thank you, Mike.
They had it. I can't get it anymore. If apparently you have to be better connected than I am, and I'm not that well connected. So I love me some Magic Skagit. Magic Skagit. Say
Magic. I know. No.
Say it. Magic Skagit.
Magic Skagit.
It's a tongue twister for
Magic
sure.
Skagit.
I practiced 1,000 times today before the class.
I did not floss, and I apologize,
That's all right.
because that would have helped with my
Now let's go to the Poolish.
Okay.
Now, this is not a standard Poolish. This is a Poolish made with magic microbes, right? So it functions like a Poolish, but it's actually a levain with one feed. And we're going to talk to James and Cameron more about that later.
Interesting, because we were talking about last class this idea of the sourdough Poolish, and I just said, well, isn't a levain just basically like that? And you said no, because it had to do with the feeding schedule. So that is interesting. We'll have to bring that one back up.
So we're going to do future classes where we use a levain, where we feed it 1 or 2 more times, which I've done many times, and I've had great results with this product. And we're also going to do a biga. I have not yet experimented with a biga, but James has. So if we have time later, we can talk with James a little bit about that.
Okay.
So it's going to be, and in Italy they do use what they call a biga naturale. I was just on the phone the other day about a banh mi project with our friend Stefano, depending on how you pronounce it. I call him Stefano. He uses all of his entire bakery uses a biga naturale. and it is a very stiff levain. It's, I believe 43%.
Wow.
And except for his challah bread, it's the only, which is a yeasted bread. Everything else is fed with that very stiff levain.
Wow, interesting. I bet you
What do you
bet you he's got some great crumb structure. So
He
how
sure
much
does.
Poolish is in this recipe?
Good.
Or
So
what's the percentage?
we're gonna let's cut we're gonna say 20%,
Okay.
which is the equivalent of 20% levain or 0.2 IDY. And again, I'm doing a 50-50 split of magic microbes. All right.
So are you doing 0.1%? You're doing 0.2, but split at 0.1, 0.1? Or
Well, let's talk about that because it's a little bit more complicated than that.
that's why I brought it
Yeah,
up.
so here's the way I'm going to break it down for people. All right. If you want to do the straight dough version of this, all right, here's what I would say. You would use, I'm using 1,000 grams of flour, right? So normally at 0.1 IDY, I would use a single gram of IDY. We're doing a 0.2 IDY equivalent, so it's 0.2 IDY, which would be 20% levain, right? So here's what we're going to do. If you're doing a straight dough, if you're not doing a Poolish, some people watching this are going to be doing a straight dough, right? Where you use the all-purpose and the wild yeast. Then what I would say is you use 6.5 grams of the all-purpose. Write that down.
6.5. This is just for straight.
Yep.
Of AP, and then 6.5 of the wild yeast, yeah?
And then 5 of the wild yeast. And you can
5
use the dough calculator on the site, right? And you feed in, because we got the total recipe would be the equivalent of 0.2 IDY or 20% levain. You can put those numbers into our dough calculator, and since we're doing a split, you put in 0.1 IDY, and it'll spit out 6.5 grams. Your 0.1 IDY for the wild yeast at 1,000 grams of flour, it'll spit out 5 grams. So a total of 11.5 grams if you're doing a straight dough. All right. Answer number one. Now, for answer number two, because I'm doing it both ways. I'm doing a Poolish, and I'm not using any of the wild yeast. I'm just using the all-purpose.
Okay.
Right. There you have it. So we can discuss this with James and Cameron later.
So how much of the all-purpose did you put into the Poolish?
Oh my God, such a small amount. Let's see. I'll tell you right now. So let's do this. So I did 2 Poolishes. I did a 10 a.m. Poolish.
And then 12 p.m.
Yeah. So I did a double batch. I did twice as much as I need because I'm going to take the other half. I only need 200 grams of Poolish, but I made 400 because I'm going to take that and either make some more pizza after the class, or I'm going to use it to make a levain, and I'm going to use that extra 200 grams to make a levain, and I'll make some pizza with that tomorrow.
Smart.
All right.
So and just a rule of thumb, when you are doing pre-ferments, it's usually best to have, like, especially with Poolish, unless you're doing it in the bowl that you're going to mix in, excuse me, a little extra.
Yeah.
Just so you can, because sometimes you're not, you don't hit the exact amount that you need if you just do the precise. I've learned to do 20, 30 over, just so I have a little breathing room there with my pre-ferments, just so everybody knows. So
there you go.
Okay.
So I ended up using for my Poolish, for both of them, both the 10 a.m. and the 12 p.m. I used the same amount. I just used different temperatures. So let's go over that real quick, and then we're going to get to the mix.
Okay.
All right. For my 10 a.m. Poolish, I held it at about 72 degrees for about, it's in the 7 or 8 hour range. And because it was a double batch, I used 1.625 grams of the all-purpose microbes, which is a very small amount. All right? But that's for a double batch. If I was just doing a single batch, I would probably only need 0.8125.
Yeah, 8125.
Now, for people who aren't following along, we're going to be posting some recipes on the website soon. But, we're learning as we go, right? So I use the same amount of all-purpose microbes for the later one, for the 12 p.m., which is a 5-hour Poolish at 80 degrees. The only difference was that I used warmer temperature, so 80 degrees instead of 72.
Okay, interesting. And that was still at 1.625 AP, correct?
Yeah, and that was
Now,
for a double batch. That got me 400 grams of Poolish instead of 200.
so, and what flours are you using in your Poolish?
Ah, good question. So I'm using the espresso.
Okay. Now, so
And
everybody, so he's using the highest protein type 80 that they have, and the ratio for Poolish is always 100, 100.
mhm,
Well, not, I guess not always, but
pretty much always.
pretty much
Pretty much
always the
always.
Poolish is 100% hydration. So remember, in the total recipe, you have to subtract the amount of water and
Yeah.
flour that are in the Poolish from that 1,000 grams of flour. And you'll notice when Noel is putting his water in, he's only adding what? If you're doing, what is that? 100,
So
200.
basically 100 grams of water and 100
So
grams of flour.
you're going to be doing 600 grams of water, but there's also 100 grams of water in
So
the
let's
pre-ferment.
double back and make sure that's not confusing to people.
Yeah.
So when you use a pre-ferment that has flour and water in it, I would normally have 1,000 grams of flour, right, in my recipe, which I still do. But when I add my flour in, I have to subtract 100 grams out to make up for the Poolish, right? And because I have two different flours, right, I have the Glacier Peak and I have the espresso, and I use the espresso in the pre-ferment, so I'm going to subtract 100 grams of the espresso out of the recipe. All right.
So, okay, yeah.
Now let's talk about the water because you brought that up as well. It's a 70% hydration dough, but because there's already 10% of the hydration in the Poolish, 100 grams, I'm not gonna put I don't have 700 grams of water here. I only have 600 because 600 plus 100 is 700, and that makes up for the 70%, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry if that's confusing to anyone. If anybody has any questions about that, we can go over the math later.
Yeah.
All right? Good. Now, people are going to say, hey, Noel, you're taking so much time. Why are we going over all this? Well, here's the reason. The mix and how you use the microbes is the point of these free classes. If you want to learn how to make, or most of you probably already know how to make a pan pizza, right? This is not about how the baking goes and how the cheesing goes and how to get the Frico crust. We have classes for that, right? On the Slow Rise Pizza website, or maybe you already know you don't need to take a class. This is really about dialing in the microbes, right? For people who want to do a straight dough using the all-purpose, right, or the wild yeast, we've just given you a recipe. Soon we'll have recipes on the site.
Yeah.
For people who want to learn to use a Poolish like we did 2 weeks ago with the New York pizza recipe, we're teaching you how to do a Poolish, right? And for those who want to learn how to turn this into a leaven or a levain or a biga, we'll be doing that in future weeks. All right?
There we go. All
right, Justin. So I have all of my ingredients ready. How about you?
I'm not mixing.
I'm not mixing. So, all right. Do you have any questions for me before we get this party started?
I don't, but we do have people asking about the Poolish breakdown again, maybe posting it in the chat.
Well, I'm not going to be posting because I'm going to be mixing.
Okay.
But if I can rely on you to do that, that would be great. Or when we're talking later, we can go over it.
We'll go over it one more
I can
time.
dictate to you. Yeah, I'm sorry if it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
The reason it's confusing, I think, is because this week I doubled the amount of Poolish in both recipes because I want to make a levain with it later. Right. And so as you said, Justin, when people use sourdough in a commercial setting, they always make a little extra, right? Yeah. So I'm pretending I'm in a commercial setting because I'm not just making pizza today, I'm making pizza every day.
Oh man, what a life.
Yeah, what a life. That's why I'm at the gym at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. There you go. You got to, my dad says, you got to pay the fiddler if you want to dance all night, brother.
You do. All right, so let's do this as we always do. And we're going to get this mix started. Let's do some temperatures.
Okay.
All right, so room temperature 73.
RT 73. Let's write them down, everybody. RT equals 73. RT means room temp, temperature.
Guess my flour temperature. Go ahead, guess.
I'm going to say your FT, which is flour temp, is also 73.
Ring yourself that big blue bell for me, would you? You got that one right.
There we go.
Now, this one you're not going to guess, but I'm going to let you try. What's the temperature of my water?
H to the ISO, it's probably about the same. Oh, no, it's warm. You just warmed up your water. So you said 106.
It's pretty close. So I did 115 yesterday. Now I'm down around 103. I think that's a
Okay,
little more
103,
manageable.
103.
All right.
103 for H2O.
Yeah.
Noel is taking off his big dough hook, his curly Q, as we like to say, on
Yeah.
his uni halo. Noel,
I'm
you've
gonna
been
take.
enjoying the uni halo?
I have. I've been learning how to use it. So
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my bowl onto the mixer and I'm gonna tear it off because I have two Poolishes here and I have to decide which one to use and I have to pull 200 grams out of each. So let's see. Let's talk about Poolish before we get this party started.
Okay.
So I have the 12 p.m. Poolish, which has almost doubled in size. You can see that right there was where it was. So I'd say it's about double. And I have the 10 a.m., which is about a 7-hour Poolish. And I would say it's gone up by about, I've been moving it around, so it dropped a little bit. But if I hadn't moved it around, it would have gone up about 75%.
Wow. Okay.
So the other thing is that what I want to do is I want to open it up.
Give it a little smell test.
Oh, it smells good.
So pass the sniff test. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I'm not there.
So it's got beautiful bubbles. It's definitely active. But what I like about it compared to traditional Poolish made with commercial yeast is it's got it's got some serious acidity. Oh, that 10 a.m. one.
Yeah.
Woo! That's beautiful.
There you go. A little funk, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So in general with Poolishes, as most people may or may not know, a longer Poolish is going to get you more flavor, more aroma. Not necessarily more activity, but flavor and aroma for sure.
Okay.
So I usually do a 16 or an 18-hour Poolish, but for the sake of these classes, a 4 or an 8 should suffice, especially because we're making a sourdough Poolish, so there's plenty of activity there. A 4-hour Poolish is badass. All right.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, so let me do this, Justin. Let me tear this off. Okay. I'm going to add the water first, right? So instead of the 700 grams, I'm going to only add 600 grams.
Okay, so into the Uni Halo mixer, Scott. That is the Uni Halo mixer. And Noel is not a Uni ambassador, but he has been using this mixer, and we're enjoying it. We're enjoying it for sure.
That's right. So, all right. So now, which one should I use, Justin? Should I use the 7-hour or should I use the 5-hour?
I kind of like the 7-hour.
Let's use the 7-hour.
Let's go long. Let's go long with it, baby.
Let's do it. Oh, it smells so. I wish you guys.
It looked good. It looked good.
It smells great.
It's what is it? What is it? I mean, the Poolish.
So
rule of thumb is kind of when it just starts to crevasse a little bit, right?
Yeah. So this one has not started to crevasse yet, but the other thing is that there is a little bit of a crevice really down the middle, but I'm not quite sure if it's because I've been moving it around a lot, right? So it could be that. So let me do this. I'm going to empty out about 200 grams. Oh yeah, it smells even better. Better. So the thing about a levain thing about a levain is that it has to pass the float test.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously not the only criteria, but that's one of the criteria for levain.
It's a good rule of thumb, yeah.
Yeah. The thing about it is that there's a lot more to it than that. But once it passes the float test, it will leaven your bread or your pizza. But I think a lot of people they oversimplify it and think, all right, it floated, let's use it. And sometimes that may or may not be the only
100%.
way to decide, right?
Yeah.
All right, so now we've got the Poolish in, we've got the water in, and I'm going to add the flour.
Great. And we'll add the salt later, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the salt is on a vacado, guys, because we don't want it to hamper our fermentato and our incorporato.
Yeah.
So the 7-hour is not a smaller inoculation. It was a little colder water. So
it was colder water and a colder room temperature. That's correct, Justin.
Right. So it wasn't. We didn't mess with the amount of the yeasts in there. So yeah, for a 16 to 18-hour Poolish. Noel, any thoughts on temperatures for that? Go cold.
We can talk to James about that a little bit. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think we were looking at about 60 degrees for the better part of 16 to 18 hours.
Yeah, usually when I used to do a Poolish, I don't do Poolish anymore, but But I love what it did for the dough. But now I'm using sourdough. Um, I would do a 17-hour overnight with such a small amount of yeast, and I would use warm water. Use warm water. But
Oh,
my
would
room
you?
temperature probably got started at 70, probably got down to like, you know, mid to low 60s overnight.
Yeah, I like it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to mix. The plan is I'm just going to make a note. I have the water, H2O, Poolish, and flour. All right. I'm going to mix for 5 minutes on what
Okay.
I'm calling first speed, which is about 60 RPMs. Justin, what do you say about that?
Okay. First speed, 60 RPMs. Can I get the dough cam on?
Sir,
Monsignor.
sir, yes, sir.
And so, Scotty, yeah, I think that you can kind of just swirl the Polish in, but literally the first 5 minute, or you said 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. The first 5 minute mix, it's all going to incorporate anyway. So that's really kind of dealer's choice.
What was the question?
The question was, do you need to mix the Polish in the water after giving it the float test before adding the flour?
No, you can just throw it in if you're
Yeah,
confident.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, most mixers that I use, especially home mixers, I like to put the water in first,
Right.
make sure it doesn't stick on the bottom, and then it's just
Well,
kind of,
the flour doesn't stick on the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
I
call
and
it
then I
flour scabs, everybody. We don't want any flour scabs on the bottom of the bowl. Okay.
Justin, making up your own words again.
So water in first, right? And then the
Yeah, good.
full, and then the
All right.
fleur. And if you're
So
adding a little sugar, I like to do sugar before the flour, but that's just me.
good.
That's
Yeah.
just me.
So we're not using any sugar. We're not using any olive oil. We're not using any malt. These are all things that you absolutely can use, but we're trying to see what flavor, what aroma, what color we get just from the straight microbes,
Right.
right? And a little bit of
Simple
whole
dough.
wheat or type 85 goes a long way. I also think the Trailblazer, which is like you said, Justin, I think is a type 65 or 70, that helps a lot with.
I think it's
But
type
it has
80.
no malt, so most of the flour has no malt. So we're not going to
Uh,
get as deep and dark and rich of a bottom color on these pan pizzas as we might with a malted flour.
Interesting. Great.
All right, so let's do this. What time you got?
I've got 5:53.
Writing it down.
5:53.
And
5 minute.
Justin.
Hold on, let me get to
Yep,
5. Up you went. Sorry, I'm gonna be a couple.
that's all
I'll
right.
be a little bit behind. There we go. Edit.
All right, so we're mixing at a very nice slow speed. One of the things that I like about these spiral mixers is that you get a very nice, slow, gentle mix. Really love it.
Yeah, yeah. So you said speed 60.
Yeah, so 60 I'm calling first speed, and I'm gonna mix just so everybody knows. I'll do a little bit of second speed mixing at about 120, and just because in other classes where I've used like 70% hydration, I can definitely just do like a first and second speed mix and finish with stretch and folds. But when I was playing around, I did it both ways, and I actually ran it on what I would call third speed, which is 180 RPMs, and I think I ran it that last time for maybe 2.5 minutes, and that just kind of finished it. I only needed 2 more stretch and folds after that. So the only thing that I'll do is I'll give this little mixer a hand, and what I like to do is come around with my little spatula. Dangerous move, but someone's got to do it, Justin, and just give it a little scrapey scrape. Can you
Yep.
see my little spatula there?
Yeah, I was telling everybody last class. I've got one of those really long, thin ones that have. I think that they were originally for a Vitamix
Mm-hmm.
that actually works really well
Yeah.
to just. And the bowl, the drivetrain or whatever on this bowl is really strong. So I just kind of let it sit there, and it just kind of scrapes the bowl
There you
as
go.
it goes around for my first little couple
Yeah.
minutes.
Also, on one of the YouTube videos that we posted, somebody said to me I wasn't using enough dough. And he made that comment. And I'm purposely not using enough dough because one of the things I like about a spiral mixer is that generally speaking, depending on the model, you can use as little as 15 to 20% of capacity, some even less, and still get a pretty decent mix.
Yeah.
So I'm at about a third of capacity here. with about 1.7 kilos. I think it's a 5-kilo mixer, and I think it does just really well. But
Yeah.
two of the things that will sometimes happen: number one, you'll have to do a little more scraping along the side than you would if you were mixing at maximum capacity. And sometimes the dough crawls up the hook a little more. And that's what somebody made a comment on YouTube. So I tried to explain that, yes, I knew that was the case, but I was doing it on purpose. Because in all of our classes, Justin, except for a few, I always do a 1 kilo flour mix just to keep it all apples to apples.
And also, it's really good when we're talking about the recipe, you'll see it's 70% hydration. That means that there's 700 grams to 1,000 grams of flour.
I think that's a really good point.
We're trying to teach people how to make pizza, and then it's a jumping off spot for you guys.
I like that point, Justin, because I got to say, when I was in baking school and we were mixing, it would be 5,378 grams of flour and 3,900.
What's 70% of 5,300 or 2.7 kilos? You just say, well, okay, wait, hold on a second.
We're trying to keep it simple here, and we want people to understand it. Not everybody is fluent in baker's math, as you are, Justin. When I met you, you couldn't do addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. And now look at you.
I certainly don't do my own taxes.
Probably better.
Definitely.
Although soon, ChatGPT, I'm sure, will be doing it for you, right, Justin?
I friggin' hope so. Friggin' hope so.
Good.
ChatGPT won my Hyundai thing. We're still waiting to hear from Hyundai of America. Still waiting to.
Oh, they're probably running a ChatGPT on your ChatGPT.
Yeah,
we'll see how that works.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so we're looking in the bowl, Justin, and here's the thing. Everybody who's taken our classes before knows we're not trying to develop any gluten. We're just trying to incorporate. What does that mean, Justin?
Right, guys. So this is the incorporation phase of the mix, which is the initial part of the mix. If you were doing a straight dough, the salt and the yeast would be over by the microwave on vacation. The salt and yeast went on a vacato, so we could focus on the incorporato because we want to be in control of the fermentato, and that, my friends, is a solid foundato. What that means is that this is the part of mix where we're just trying to hydrate the flour. That's all we're doing.
We sure are.
We want the flour to get hydrated before we start any fermentation process.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's why usually straight dough, no yeast, no salt. However, Noel, can you riddle me this? Because we have a Poolish in there, that was your 4 minutes and 42-second timer.
Excellent.
So, but the point is that we're just trying to incorporate at this point, guys. We don't want the fermentation to start. But Noel, seeing that you have the Poolish in there, kind of breaking that rule, huh?
No.
Well, the Poolish is the fermentation, no?
Yeah. But it's also part of the hydration. And so when you're using a high hydration Poolish or a low hydration Biga, sometimes if you add these things in too late, you could have problems with incorporation. Less so with a Poolish than with a Biga.
Okay, interesting.
Now, if you have a professional mixer, no problem. But for people who are mixing on a KitchenAid, I like to get the pre-ferment in as early as possible.
Okay.
Right?
Now, we're not really doing an autolyse.
Well, you could call this an autolyse right now while we talk.
Couple minutes.
Yeah. I mean, yes, if you want to do a 5-minute autolyse, you're welcome to. I don't think this dough really needs that.
Right. I mean, usually with the higher hydration doughs, we don't do necessarily an autolyse.
With the higher hydration doughs, we don't often do an autolyse. But you know what? I would say that in general, that's mostly for doughs that use commercial yeast. And so, especially with the high hydration doughs, we have a big problem, Justin. And that big problem is that if the dough gets too hot too fast, we lose control of the fermentation. Not the case with magic microbes, not the case with sourdough.
Interesting.
All right?
Okay.
So let's do this. I wrote down that we did a 5-minute mix. I wrote down that we did at 5-minute. And you want to guess what the dough temp is, Just?
Oh, what was the water temp was 103, so I think it's going to be high. I think it's going to be like 80, 90, 94.
Pretty close. A little lower. We're at 89.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And so, guys, I know that we had said 80 to 85 for the DDT, but as this mix to what our room temp is 73. So the one thing about the spiral mixer is it works in the ambient temperature air a little bit more. So as we're mixing, it might go up, but because the air temperature is getting mixed in there too, so you have your friction, but you're also adding in the cooler air. So it'll be interesting for us to see.
Just so you know, Justin, when I was stress testing this dough the other day and I mixed with 115-degree water, the dough came out over 90 degrees, but by the end of the mix, it was under 90 degrees. So like you were saying, even with the friction, it came down because of the cool air temperature.
Right.
So right on.
But there's hardly no friction when you're mixing at 60 RPMs, right? I mean,
there's hardly any friction when you're mixing at 60. Also, we don't have any gluten development yet. Also, it's not a high hydration dough, but it's pretty high.
It's high-ish, but like you said, but there's not a ton of dough in the mixer. Like if you had a lot of, all those things kind of give you a little leeway that your friction factor isn't going to be going up. So.
All right, Justin, I'm going to put the salt in now. And I'm going to mix for another...
How many?
Well, I'm going to mix for another 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to call this, so that was mix 1. We're going to call this mix 2. We're going to continue at 60 RPM. We're going to add salt. We're going to mix for 3 minutes. And then at 3 minutes, we're going to go to 120 RPM.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Are you ready for me?
I am.
All right, so salt is in.
Salt was 2.5% salt. 2.5 today.
Yep.
Okay.
Hold on, this timer's giving me a hard time. All right, good.
You ready?
I'm ready, and let's do it.
Okay.
60.
Cool. I got to run downstairs and turn my oven on. So why don't you talk to people about what you're seeing in the bowl?
There you go. All right, so I just added my salt, everybody. And so we're going to, in some mixers, the salt add kind of works itself in relatively quickly. Because we're at under capacity, and there's lots of places in the bowl for the salt to hide, I like to give it a good 3 minutes because I like the salt to be fully incorporated before we go to second speed and start developing gluten. Could you start developing gluten before the salt is fully incorporated? Yes, but I wouldn't recommend it. All right? So the incorporation part of the mix is still happening, right? It was happening for the first 5 minutes, and now it's happening with the salt. Once the salt is fully mixed in, we're going to go to second speed, and then we will begin developing gluten. I would say that we will end up mixing for the better part of these 3 minutes, plus probably another 6 or 7 minutes. I'm going to eyeball it on at 120 RPMs or second speed. And then we're going to go up to what I'm calling third speed, which is going to be about 180 RPM. So 60, 120, 180. And then it's not going to be very long. I almost never mix to 100% of gluten development. I usually mix to between 75 and 80% of gluten development. And then I finish with stretch and fold. That's my preferred way to mix. This allows you to never overmix, number one. And also, the more you mix out flavor, color, and aroma. And that's what we're trying to preserve here, right? Good. So it's been about a minute and a half. I'm looking down at the dough. I personally don't see any salt, but that doesn't mean that it's fully incorporated. So that's why I'm just I'm going to let it go another minute and a half or so. And then hopefully when Justin gets back, we can go to second speed. I don't want him to miss anything. Justin, you're back.
Yeah, look at that.
Why are you turning your oven on? What's for dinner, Justin?
I'm going to make some pizza.
What kind of pizza?
I'm going to make, I don't know.
You don't know? Dinner is in like an hour.
I think it's going to be...
You mean you don't know the toppings, or you don't know the style?
I don't know
of
the
pizza?
toppings.
What are you thinking?
Well,
what's in between?
I would be doing some spinach, some jalapenos, some red onions, a little bit of pepperoni dogs, finished with a little tomato confit, garlic, olive oil.
Justin, I feel like you need to write this down because there's a lot going on in that pizza. You're making me nervous.
It's so good.
I mean, it all sounds good, but there's a
basil at the end. Oh,
dude,
yeah.
this is a more is more pizza.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
do
yeah.
like that you're using spinach.
Yeah, I'm using spinach. We sauteed a little garlic.
Oh, garlic. I've never heard of spinach and pepperoni, but that doesn't mean it's not delicious.
That's 3 minutes for you, brother.
All right, good. So here's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna stop it. We're not gonna temp it. We're gonna turn it up to 120. Are you
Okay.
with me?
$1.20 for how many minutes?
Well, let's do this. Let's figure another 7 minutes.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna be eyeballing it, and we were at
5 minutes.
What did I say the temperature was? I didn't write it down.
Oh, I don't know.
Come on.
Oh, before?
Yeah, just now.
You said 80, 88, 89?
88.
89. 60. 5 minutes.
So the thing with
89.
for people who've taken our classes before, they know with commercial yeast, you don't really want to go above, let's say, 78 to 80. That's really you're redlining if you go over that. Except maybe with
Dough
pastry.
temp, guys.
Dough temp, yeah. But for sourdough, 80, 85 is not a problem. And with these particular wild yeast and
were saying they like
sourdough microbes, 90 is not a problem. I've even gone 95 because you know me, I like to stress test everything.
Yeah, I mean, we got to figure out the parameters.
Yeah.
No, we're not using any oil in this dough. There's going to be a little oil in the bottom of the bulk container. But it's negligible. It's just to make the dough more manageable.
Yeah.
So, but we're not putting any fats into the dough because we want
no fat, no sugar,
we really
no
want to
malt.
see, like we're all going on this journey together to figure out how these microbes really perform. Like Noel said, he's stress testing. We don't want any other flavors in there.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a cheat, but here's what I will say. My favorite pizza makers in the world, they don't need malt. They don't need sugar. They don't need olive oil. They just need proper fermentation, proper gluten development, the right recipe, the right technique, the right temperatures.
A lot of money to have access to all those things.
I don't think so.
Wealthy,
Justin, look at the delicious
benefactors.
pizza you're making, and you're broke as hell, just like we all are these days.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Anybody notice anything different about me? Put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. Justin, did you get your teeth? Did you get your teeth fixed? Is that what it is?
No,
You're looking pretty toothy.
I wish.
Stop that. Stop that.
I need. Does anybody have an extra dental plan they could toss my way? I got a shot for new insurance. That's not fun.
Oh, everybody loves that. So, Justin, I'm starting to see a little bit of gluten development here.
Okay.
I'm starting to see the dough begin to pull away from the side.
Hey, Noel, I'm getting a little echo, buddy, somehow.
Yeah, well, my phone here. Let me see if I can do anything about that. My phone has a mind of its own. Yeah, you're getting an echo because the sound is on 1, and 1 apparently on my new iPhone is like a 3.
Let me see if I can.
You can mute that other phone?
No, it's already muted.
I know. The speaker is on.
Oh, it's the speaker. Gotcha.
I turned it off. But as I come close to the phone, you can hear it.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a unidirectional mic.
I just hope you turned on the right. You might want to check your settings, dog.
I might. All right, let's see here.
No oil. Yeah, guys, I'll just get 100% flour, and that was 75% Glacier Peak and 25% Trail Espresso. Water, 70%. Salt, 2.5. Poolish at 20%. 20%. There we go.
All right, so we're coming up on about 7 minutes. I'm going to say I'm seeing some good movement in the bowl.
3 more minutes on my seven.
About 3 more minutes. So yeah. I'm starting to see some movement in the bowl. I'm starting to see some very subtle signs of gluten development. It's not anywhere near ready.
No, that's good though.
I would say we're coming up on about 45% gluten development.
Okay, so did you say what was your plan on stretch and folds?
Just 2.
Okay.
I mean, could I do 3? Yes.
No, I mean,
do 3?
Is this? I think you were talking about gluten development. You still try to go to 60, 65-ish.
All right, so let's talk about this. So, If I were going to do what I often do with my pizza dough, which is bulk fermented overnight, then I would say 2 stretch and folds would definitely be enough for this because it's going to get a lot of strength and structure in the overnight bulk retard. However, for a pan pizza, I almost never bulk retard.
Interesting. Why?
Well, because I want the dough to extend to the 4 corners of the pan. And sometimes when the dough has too much strength and too much structure, it pulls back.
Now, even if you however, on the other side of that, Noel, I mean,
Yep.
if you do let it sit and then ball it really tight and then leave it out overnight for 12 hours, so guys, remember, based on the variables that Noel's playing with, maybe he can't, but like you said, if you've got a 65 degree or 67 degree wine fridge that you've balled really tight, you could probably leave it in there for 12 hours or overnight if it's 64 degrees, and it would go all the way. But in a commercial space or professional space, when you need that dough to get to the edges in maybe 4-6 hours, maybe 8 hours if you're lucky, maybe you got to think backwards and maybe not ball so tight and maybe not bulk retard.
Yeah, I would also say that in a commercial space, Justin, you're not going to have 4, 6, or 8 hours. So you're going to have 2 to 3 hours tops.
Yeah.
And so that's why you're not going to want to do an overnight bulk retard. Yeah. And so I've worked at a lot of places that do Detroit style. I know the trend these days is to do a par bake. That is absolutely not my favorite way to do it. I think you get the best results from doing, from stretching the dough, panning the dough, maybe a little bit of a proof, not a lot, maybe a half hour to an hour at the most, around 80 degrees, just to get a little rise on it, then get it out, and then top it, bake it, go. Or return it to the reach and refrigerator, right? Just like I have here, I have these nice little pans. And you stack them, and they've been pre-proofed, and you top them and they go. But the bake time is going to be longer, maybe closer to 20 minutes. If you have a really well-topped pie, it could be even 25.
Right. Gosh, yeah.
So that's why people like the par bake. So we're at about 10:04, Justin.
Yeah,
I'm going to turn it up to 160.
Okay. So this is mix 4.
So actually 180. My apologies. So it went from 60 to 120 to 180.
Okay. And are we just going till what?
Well, here's the thing. I don't mix for specific periods of time.
We're looking for gluten development.
We're looking for gluten development. So what I would say is that I'm looking for something in the neighborhood of 75, 80% gluten development. Not more than that. And less is okay.
What I'm going to do is I just started a stopwatch.
Yeah.
And so what we're looking for, everybody, is we're watching the bowl. We're looking for what Noel, he said we were about at 40 a couple minutes ago. So we're looking
I would
for
say 45, 50. Now we might be closer to 60. The dough is looking rough, that's for sure. It's not looking smooth, but I don't want a smooth dough.
Right.
A lot of people make the mistake of overmixing their dough. They do a window pane, it's fully developed. That's a problem. In general, most pizza should not be fully developed in the mixer unless you're doing a super high hydration, or what you like to call hypermix, right?
Hypermix, yeah. Spaz mix.
I like to call it an intensive mix.
Yeah.
Right?
The spaz, the hypermix.
Justin?
There we go.
All right, so the dough is pulling away pretty nicely. I could definitely go a few more minutes, but you know me, I like to undermix and finish with stretch and folds. And then what I'm going to say is, based on the way this dough looks now, I'll do a stretch and fold at 30 minutes. I'll do another stretch and fold at 60 minutes. And then what I'll probably do is I'll wait maybe another 30 to 60 minutes, which will be after the class is over. I'll do one more stretch and fold, and then I'll ball probably after a total bulk fermentation of 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
Right? That depends on the temperature of the dough. That depends on how it feels. That depends on a lot of things. But I'm definitely balling tonight, right? And I can use this dough tomorrow or the next day or both.
Now, I know that there's kind of a lot of people say that they wait for it to double in size before they ball. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's an old-fashioned technique.
Okay.
A lot of people say they punch their dough down, and we don't really do that anymore.
Be careful. Be careful. Noel gets in
Yeah,
trouble when he starts talking about punching things.
I know. I've gotten in trouble before. All right, so
Okay,
let's
there
do
we
this,
go.
Justin. I
I had 2
stopped it.
minutes. 2
Yeah.
minutes.
So I'm going to say it's 12 minutes and 30 seconds total. And that's the second speed mix. We did a 5 minutes first, right? And then
Yep.
we did 3 minutes plus 7 minutes plus 2.5, right? So that's 12 and a half. Give me a drum roll, please, Justin, so we can check out the.
Let's check out.
There we go.
We're looking for
You want
that
to guess? You want to guess?
temp. I think we were at 80, 89. So I think we're going to be
88,
like
89.
I think we're going to be like 86.
Justin, we're at 89.
Still at 89, guys.
Yeah.
My theorem, my postulate of air incorporating into the dough, that didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Didn't happen? Why not?
I don't know.
Justin, what time you got?
I have approximately 6:16.
6:16.
I would say 6:15. It's been
All right, good. So let's do this. Let's set up a stopwatch for 30 minutes from now, and we'll do a stretch and fold.
6:15, ladies and gentlemen. 88 degrees, 89 degrees,
Yeah.
and bulk begins.
Good. So here's what we know. We know that we're going to want to do a second stretch and fold in an hour. So I'm going to set up a second stopwatch for 1 hour from now.
Yep.
And that may or may not be after the class ends, but rest assured I will do a second stretch and fold. And most likely, based on the fact that this dough is somewhat undermixed, I will do a third stretch and fold, and then I will ball after dinner.
Yep. So, Mike, so 2 to 3 hours bulk ferment is 2 to 3 hour after the mixing is done, including the stretch and folds. Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he's going to do this. The bulk is happening now. We just haven't moved it into the bulk container, which we're going to do.
Yeah.
So no, it's included. The stretch and folds are included, bud, in the first hour.
Yeah.
So the stretch and folds are actually part of the bulk.
Yeah.
So the first hour of the bulk, there will be 2 stretch and folds. Noel, going into the second hour, is going to decide, does it need? What does it look like? How does it feel? All those things. He's going to either, at 90 minutes, he's going to say, does it need another stretch and fold or not? Then another hour and a half, he's going to bowl.
Good. All right, so Justin,
Scott,
let's do this.
Uses, yep, sorry, bud.
No, I apologize. Go ahead.
No. Scott's just asking what kind of container. It's a 4-inch Cambro with a loose top. 4-inch Cambro, I believe. Or are you doing a 6er?
Yeah.
We have a couple of them. They're like half hotel pans. What do you call them, Noel? 4-inch Cambro, see-through plastic with the loose top, because as the dough rises, we don't want it snap on.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan so the dough doesn't stick during this stretch and fold process.
Good. So let's do this, Justin. I'm going to get the dough out of the container. But while we do that, or after we do that, I want to go back over the Poolish recipe again for people who asked to make sure that we get that done.
Yeah.
Because as I look at my notes, I think that I might have been a little unclear, and I might have even misrepresented what I did, because
I think it's important, guys.
Yeah, no, it is important.
A lot of
and
mistakes.
I make a lot of mistakes. Also, I had 2 different Poolishes going, and I had, let's just say it's been a busy 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Graduation parties, and I've got this class, and I've got an event next Tuesday.
Excuses. Let's just
many excuses.
Come on. Should we bring on Jimmy to talk Poolish here in a second?
You know what? I don't know if they're ready to come on, but you can ask them.
Where my guys at?
They're busy. They're not like us, Justin. They got real jobs.
I'm gonna bring them on.
Let's see if they'll come.
James Gaffney, if you're there. There he is. Damn, dude, looking high and tight. Did you get a haircut, my guy?
I did. Thank you
Constantly getting his haircut.
Man, looking good, dude.
Uh-huh.
Jeez.
He lives in a military town. You got to get your haircut every 5 minutes in San Diego, or you're looking shaggy.
Should you send me your barber?
Oh yeah, you should fly your barber up. Yes.
Yeah.
Justin pays a lot. He's very Hollywood. He flies his barber in from New York.
Yeah, I got that Uber of the Uber of private jets, PJs, we call them. And not to be confused with the things you sleep in. Well, I guess you can sleep in this too, but you know what I'm saying. PJ stands for private jet.
Okay.
Sorry,
I
Jimmy.
hear you.
Did
I
you
hear you.
notice anything different about Uncle Pizza today?
I haven't. What's going on?
Hey, nothing. I'm just gonna see. Let's see if anybody notices anything. So what's been going on? Give us the updates from the kitchen, the Leaven Foods lab, would you?
We've been doing a lot of bagels,
Oh yeah,
not
how'd the
so much
bagels go?
not so much pizza. The bagels are doing good. I think we'll release a recipe here sometime soon, hopefully this week
And
or
what
so.
microbes are you using in your bagels?
The all-purpose.
Kicking the
Yeah.
APs.
Yeah, you
That's
can
good.
use the wild yeast, the instant sourdough both
So
if you want. So
so how many bagels did you eat this last weekend?
not that many.
What,
I make dough more than I bake them, and then I bake a few, and I only eat a small portion of those that we bake. Maybe two. Maybe I ate two bagels.
now, are you cream cheese in these? What, are you loxing them?
No. It's strictly you got to taste the bagel.
Are you toasting them? Are you? What are you?
No,
No.
no,
Wow.
just slicing them
Just raw
and
dogging them, huh?
exactly.
Like right when they come out after the cook?
No,
You gotta
no,
let them sit for a momo.
yes, yeah. I'm
Oh,
not breaking it. Let them sit for 10 minutes at least.
10 minutes. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Um, oh, did you
boiled.
boil?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, Scott.
Oh, wait. No,
Boiled in malt syrup. Yep,
in the syrup, huh?
yep.
No, will you show everybody your Cambro real quick at your front cam? There it is. 4-inch Cambro, ladies and gentlemen. And it looks like there is a little sheen of olive oil in there.
Just a
Correct?
sheen.
Correct. A
Yeah.
little sheen.
So
Little sheen.
this is a half pan, half hotel pan,
Mhm.
right? We have half pans, we have third pans, we have quarter pans, we have full hotel pans, but these work really well. Um, these little hotel pans work really well if you have small refrigerators at home.
And that's another thing too. If people are saying like, Noel, you're not using that mixer to full capacity, but like you're still making what six doughs, six pizza doughs,
Yeah,
or five pizza doughs, right? So
yeah,
how much
correct.
dough can you put into that mixing bowl, Scott? Is that what you're asking?
5 kilos.
We said 5 kilos, 5 kilos. Oh, the Cambro. Well, that's that. Okay, so here's the deal. The 4 inch is okay at 1,000 grams. However, it has to do with how much yeast you've got in your dough. Because if you're doing 1,000 grams of flour total mix at 65%, and you have like 2% yeast or 4% yeast, it's going to blow out of a 4-inch Cambro. So there's also a 6-inch Cambro. So it's a little bit of a sliding scale on that. So I don't
Four
think.
percent yeast, Justin. Who taught you to use 4% yeast?
Look,
Look, he
nobody.
says.
I'm just saying. I'm using
Nobody.
it as an example.
Good answer. Because if
As
you
an
said it was
example.
me, I would be arguing with you right now.
Noel wants me to put 4% yeast in everything I do.
Well, you were talking about doing that party for the old folks' home, and they want you to have a dough ready in
Oh
an
my
hour.
God.
So
I
maybe
put
4%
I
of
did.
yeast is about
I
right.
think I put 2% yeast
Yeah,
and beer.
and
And
beer.
but you're not going to get any rise out of it. I warmed the beer up to 100. I got to put it to 115. Jimmy's shaking his head at me. You guys still haven't sent me any microbes.
You got to get them from Noel, I think, right? That
No.
was the
Whoa,
deal.
this is going to be a hot
Whoa,
negotiation. I can't wait for this.
whoa. Y'all were sending me stuff.
Well, we can send you
Jeez.
something. We can send you
No, man.
something.
No. Just when you come up here, just come visit me
Yeah,
with
yeah.
microbes. Jeez Louise. So what are your thoughts on this Poolish style? You feel foolish with your Poolish, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with them a little bit, but Noel's probably made more actual dough
Hmm.
with the Poolish than we have.
Okay.
We've done more experiments just trying to figure out when the Poolish peaks, how long that takes, at what temperature, with what inclusion of microbes. So we've done some of that. I started to do some experiments more in dough this week to try to kind of reinforce what Noel's been seeing.
Hmm.
And so we'll have, more recipes come up with these pre-ferments on the site, and we'll have more insight about how actually these things are working.
Okay.
Because Noel's noticed a few things. For instance, he thinks that when you feed it more than once with the all-purpose instant sourdough, that it's a little bit stronger in terms of leavening power. So
Interesting.
we're trying to work that out as, if you make the true Poolish with the all-purpose instant sourdough, is that as strong? That first, feed versus a couple feeds down the road, and how that works into these recipes and how people can work with the product.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I still haven't even tasted any of it.
You haven't even tasted it?
Mm-mm.
That's a shame. Noel hasn't had you over.
No, no, he doesn't. He doesn't want to hang out with me anymore.
Well, you could show up. If you leave now, you can maybe get there by the
Yeah,
time the pizza's done.
yeah. Maybe I'll run over.
Yeah.
All right, Justin, let's get a game plan going. What do you say?
Talk to me, brother. What are you gonna do? Wait,
Well,
did you bring your dough back out so everybody could see it real quick? You just put it in.
I was gonna, but you guys were talking on and on about bagels and Poolish and bagels.
Hey,
All
why
right.
don't you? What? Okay, I'm gonna turn your dough cam off for a second.
Oh, don't turn
And
it off. I was just kidding.
No, no, I'm out of here. I'm taking a
Oh,
break.
are you out of here? You
Yeah,
should take a break, Justin.
latte.
You look tired. You look tired.
Gosh, I know.
All right, so here's the dough, and I can see that it is very extensible.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely sticky. It's got a decent amount of bran and germ, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
It's got no perceptible sour flavor yet.
No stank,
No,
no funk.
no. And in terms of pH, we're not going to get into that.
Mhm.
Although, James, if you want, we can talk about that later because I'm looking at the pH. And I will tell you this. At the end of the bulk, I think I did a pH check. That was... Don't go anywhere. At the end of yesterday's bulk, the pH was about 5.5, just so you know, James. All right?
Really?
Really, he says. Are you surprised?
Yeah, it's high.
That's
I think.
high, right?
Yeah, I think it's fairly high. I mean,
I don't think it's high. I don't think it's high. Why do you think it's high?
well, I mean, you're using the all-purpose, right? As
Half all-purpose.
Okay, half all-purpose and half wild yeast. Okay, maybe that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes more sense.
Hey, look, we're working together on this. You're the scientist. I'm the mad baker. We're working together, right? You know a lot of things I don't know. I might know a few things you don't know. Although I got to say, you're a pretty good baker too.
Don't forget about your model.
And I'm a pretty terrible scientist.
Yeah, I would just say if you're
Yeah,
using
he said, yeah, you hear that? Yeah.
He
He means I agree with everything you said, Noel. Not
Yeah,
you're a bad
exactly.
scientist. Which I am.
No. All bakers are scientists to some degree.
Good.
It's
Thank
it's
you.
all experimentation, and honestly, the practical use of these products is more important than the science behind them, right? If
Absolutely.
your use of them with these pre-ferments is giving us a lot of information, that we
Yeah.
can't describe without doing the experiments themselves, baking.
Very good.
So, yeah.
All right, so let me do this. Justin, it is now 6:30, and what I'm going to try to do is, if you give me 60 seconds to bring out a few toppings,
Yeah.
I'll bring out my dough, I'll show it to you, we'll play a quick game of show and tell, and we'll start getting some of these pizzas into the oven. What do you say?
I think it's called dough and tell.
Dough and tell. Yes, sir. I'll be right back.
Yeah, so Scott was asking a question in the chat. He wanted to know about the yeast. So, hey Scott, if you haven't been on the Zooms through this series of Zooms, Cameron and I, who's also on the Zoom, we're with a company called Leaven Foods, and we make this instant sourdough product. So you can get it on our website. It's leavenfoods.com. We have a shop. We sell both a wild yeast, which is just the yeast from a sourdough, so no sour flavor, but a richer, deeper flavor than normal baker's yeast. And we sell all-purpose, which is a true sourdough, bacteria and yeast, and gives you a nice mild sourdough. They both can be bought on the website. They're in two sizes. One's like a larger half-pound size. Another is a five-pack of 7-gram packets, and they can be stored in refrigerator, freezer. Just keep them away from water, and that's kind of the brief rundown.
Yeah. And the idea is that they're to be interchangeable from commercial yeast.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
add much more flavor than all those things.
Yeah, and you can make your your pizza or your bread with a pre-ferment, or you can do it as a straight dough
Mhm.
and get a real sourdough with real sourdough flavor.
Without having to jump through the sourdough hoops, let's say.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So, yeah, as we're going to get cooking, and Mike, thank you for putting that in there. Scott, if you see, Mike went ahead and put the Leaven Foods shop in, and feel free to fiddle around on the website. Jimmy, can you, speaking of the website, you've got recipes on there, and you've also got this pizza calculator that Noel had referenced earlier. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So we have a small series of recipes, and we're trying to add more to that catalog as we go on. And then secondarily, the calculator. So it's not a one-to-one replacement for instant dry yeast. There is a multiplier built in. So for our all-purpose instant sourdough, it's 6.5 times by the instant yeast that you're using, and with the wild yeast, it's 5 times the instant dry yeast that you're using.
So,
Um, yeah.
and Chris just asked a good question. Just got
Mhm.
his shipment. Thank you,
Uh-huh.
Chris. Storing in the fridge until they use, storing in the freezer, storing not in the
E
fish tank, I'm hearing.
either or. And if it doesn't get too hot in your house, you can store it just in your pantry too at ambient. You just want to avoid high temperature, and then once you open it, definitely avoid moisture.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. No, that looks pretty nice, buddy.
It is pretty nice.
Look at, you said that's a 12 inch? Wow, it's a
That's
10 inch?
that's a 9-inch bottom and a 10-inch top, and this is an 8 by 10 right here.
Oh, those look nice.
Right. So before we do that, let's loop back and talk about the Poolish real
Cool.
quick because I misstated my recipe,
Okay.
and so I confused myself, and I'll tell you why. Basically, what I did was I did a double batch of Poolish, right? So I only needed 200 grams, but I used 400, right?
Well, you made
And
400.
I made 400. And then when I was trying to describe exactly how much yeast went into it, the wild yeast, right? Which, well, let's say, let me step back. I confused myself. So for the straight dough, we used a 50-50 mix of wild yeast and all-purpose sourdough, right? For this Poolish, we just did the all-purpose sourdough, right? And so I said that I used 1.625 grams, and I said what I misrepresented myself was that I said that was for the double recipe. That was just for the part of the recipe that was included in this recipe. So I wrote it down right, but I divided it in half when I looked at it, and then while I was talking, I said, well, that seems wrong because that's the same amount of yeast that I used for last week's or for the last class's recipe, and that was 0.8125, and I said something is wrong here, and I didn't want to stop the class. So in between, I had a little look, and I said, ah ha 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 ha. I see what I did. I outsmarted myself by doing 3 different doughs, a straight dough, and then 2 different Poolishes. I misrepresented. So let's go back and say it again. All
Yeah,
right.
let's go over
In
this
the
because I'm
recipe,
confused now. Yeah.
in the recipe, which calls for 200 grams of Poolish, right? 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water, and 1.625 grams of yeast. Final answer. And that's double the amount that we used last week, right? Because, or for the last class, because instead of the equivalent of 10% Levain or 0.1 IDY, we're at 20% Levain or 0.2 IDY. So if the New York pizza recipe called for 0.8125, this calls for 1.625, all right? Now, I'm not great at math, but I think I'm right on this, all right? So, James, I've been using your math, and I got to say, so far, everything that I'm doing seems to be working. So you haven't made a mistake yet. I'm the one that makes all the mistakes.
Eh,
Thank God you guys are here to check my math. All right. So let's talk about these two pan pizzas, and I'm going to show you one thing that's different. All right. So let's go to this one first. One of the things that you might be able to see, and it's hard to tell, is that I proof this dough. Right? I proof this dough like you might proof a Sicilian style pizza. This dough here has been panned and it's been sitting out a little bit, but I did not put it in a warmer environment to proof, so it's less poofy, right? Not proofed, less poofy. proofed, more poofy, right? Just so we could see kind of two different versions of the same dough, right? Now the reason I did that is because this particular dough right here, I'm gonna hit it with a little olive oil. I'm gonna dimple it very gently, and then I'm gonna get it into the oven, and I'm gonna bake it, and we're gonna try it out. It's gonna kind of function like bread,
All right,
right?
can
And
I
then
ask?
you can ask anything you want.
How many grams in the round?
In this 9-inch round, we're at a little over 400 grams, maybe
400.
425.
How many
Yeah.
grams in the 8.5 or
Uh,
the 8 by 10?
We're right around 250, maybe
Okay.
265,
Okay.
right in that neighborhood.
And so for the proof dough, how long was that proofing for?
Well, I proofed it for about an hour, and it got up to 80 degrees. But also, I had just turned my oven on,
Mhm.
and I had my windows closed. So when it came out, it was almost 80 degrees in my kitchen before
Whoa.
I realized. So
Okay.
I feel like it proofed for a decent amount of time. But
Now-
again, this is a relatively low inclusion rate, so it's not overproofed by any
No,
means. And
looks
also, when
good.
I smell it, it smells great. So I'm going to hit it with a little olive oil, a little Malden. I'll get it into the oven, and I'll ask you to please time me.
Yeah, what do you think your projected cook time is on that, Noel?
Well, I don't really know because I haven't done this before. If I had to guess at 500 degrees, I'm gonna say we're gonna do about 15 minutes on the hearth, and then we're gonna move it up and see if we can
Okay.
dial in the top browning.
Yeah,
So
I
it'll
got
be
you.
part of the bake is gonna be right on the stone, and part of the bake is gonna be raised up because I'm not quite sure how the bottom is gonna cook on this because my first time doing it.
And like you said, there's no malt in the dough.
And there's no malt in the dough. So I could probably cook it for the full 20-25 minutes on the bottom, but I'd rather you get all your oven spring in the first 5 minutes, right? And so I'd rather make sure that I don't overcook or burn the bottom because I can always depan it and finish it on the hearth, right?
Sure. So, and Noel is using his home oven at 500 degrees,
500.
and the pizza stone is on the bottom,
Pizza stone is on the bottom, yeah.
not on the floor, but the first rack. Correct?
Correctamundo.
Okay.
All right. And then, so let's do this. Let's get a little bit of California olive oil, my favorite.
Nice.
Thank you to James and Cameron for buying me the good stuff.
Whoa! What am I, chopped liver?
You reimburse me for cost? I don't think so. All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna wet my hands a little bit, and I'm just gonna go around very gently and press the dough. I'm not trying to press any air out of the dough. That's for sure. You know me, right, Justin?
No, I thought I knew you.
There you go. And then I'm just gonna press very gently in the middle. Now, I might, after this thing proofs up like crazy, be like, all right, I think I needed a little more pressure. But the first time I do something like this,
Yeah.
I just like to give it the minimal, and then the second time you'll kind of see.
Looks
All right?
great, dude.
It looks really nice. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how it bakes. Will you do me a favor and set a timer? I'll do the same, Justin. But I think
What do you want?
give me. Let's do this. I have 2 stretch and fold timers right now. So
Yeah.
let's do a timer
I got
for
5:16 on the first stretch and fold.
That's about right. So let's do this. Let's do a 15-minute timer to start.
Okay.
And I'll put it on the bottom rack. Sorry, the bottom
The
stone.
hearth. Yeah.
The hearth, thank you. And then while we're baking away, there's enough room on my stone that I can get the second one in. How many timers you got?
This is Google, so
Yes, sir. All right, I like it. So let's do
how
this.
many?
I'm going to put this in. Let's time it for 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, I'll put it up, and we'll stop baking the bottom. We'll continue baking the top so we get the color we want. Then I'll bring it out here on a cooling rack. We'll depan it. We'll look at the bottom and see if it needs to go back in or not.
Okay.
All right.
You show me crumb today or what?
I'm not showing you crumb today. My wife
Deja.
will show you crumb. It's still her birthday. She's got like 3 days left.
Wait a
3
second.
days left. 1 month
No.
we celebrate. 1 month.
The month just ended.
No.
It's a new month.
It started in first week of May.
All right. We're not doing this in front of our family, the kids.
Just because I'm in the doghouse, we don't have to drag the whole class into the doghouse. You know
Hey,
what I'm saying?
I'd like to know who let the dogs out. All right. Are you gonna put some cheese on that, or is it going in?
No.
All
I'm naked pizza. Please
All
hold.
Pizza Neked, Nekked. I'm starting a 15-minute timer. Guys, like I said, thanks for hanging out with us. we are all going on this journey together. Sorry for the confusion a little bit, but we do have a lot of spinning plates, so to speak. Our aim is not to confuse, but to kind of have a creative, cohesive community learning together as we go into the unknown of using these new microbes that Jimmy and Cam have been working on with Noel. So Noel, can I ask you? That looks like, did you do a batard on that guy?
No, these are round.
Wow, wow.
These are round. And so here's the thing. You could do a batard. That's a really good question. A batard is an oblong dough, and a boule is a round dough. So I really like your fancy French. I didn't realize you were so fluent.
Hey, will you hit me with that mic just a wee bit, brother?
Yeah.
No, it's a little low. Thank you.
How about now? Good. So it's a good question. So one of the things that I know is that sometimes if you use a round dough ball or a boule and you try to get it into a square or rectangular pan, the edges will pull back. But I did two things to make sure my dough was extensible enough. Number one, I went from the usual 65% to 70% hydration. That's number one. Number two, or letter two, as you used to like to say.
Oh, yes.
The Poolish, the 20% Poolish. Badass.
Add some extensibility that might not have been there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very interessante.
Very interessante. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at these two and figure out what we're going to do. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with just a tiny bit of olive oil.
Are you going to dimple these like you did the other ones? Or no?
I am, but I'm gonna lightly dimple them. But I got to get some olive oil on there first, and then I am not going to do sauce first. I'm going to do sauce on top or upside down.
I like that. I like that.
I like it too.
I feel like it, and I want those big airy kind of air holes in my dough. I feel like the sauce, if you do sauce first, not only does it create a little, kind of forces a little gum line.
Yeah.
But it also caves in a little bit. So.
There we go. All right, so a couple of things. Watch. Let me move this guy out of the way, Justin, and we'll just have a look at this one. So you want to make sure that there's two things that often happen with Detroit-style pizzas, and these are the issues that I get the most with people. I get emails, I get DMs, I get it all. So one thing that happens is that the middle of the dough bubbles up. And that's a big thing that happens to beginning pan pizza makers, whether it's Roman style, Sicilian style, Detroit style, especially any of the styles other than grandma where you let the dough rest a little bit in the pan. And so one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start by pushing the dough from the middle into the corners. From the middle into the corners. I'm going to turn it around. From the middle into the corners. Now, one of the things that this will help do is it will thin out the middle so you don't have that big bubble in the middle. And also it'll push the dough into the corners. So again, now I'll go straight into the corners.
Oh yeah, nice.
Right?
Kind of make an X marks the spot.
There we go. So these are two things that I like to do. Some people like to pull the corners up and kind of press them, and that's fine to do.
That's usually earlier on in the process, though, wouldn't you say? Or?
I would say yes. I would say it's usually earlier on.
Yeah.
And so
when the dough hasn't relaxed as much.
Yeah. So there's some nice air there, right? There's some nice bubbles there. I'm not going to pop them. If there's a bubble, I want it. All right.
No, I think you owe me a stretch and fold, brother.
All right. So hold off on that because here's what I want to do. I want to get this pizza topped. Right, and then I'll give you a stretch and fold. We got plenty of time. All right, all right. So here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about cheese.
I love things like cheese.
Good. So the first thing I'm going to do, we're using Carinspring flour and we're using Ferndale farmstead cheese. So I've got some provolone here that I really like. It's a sharp provolone, and I'm going to do one nice little layer of provolone cheese.
You said it's sharp, but it's not really a picante. Provolone picante, huh?
Yeah, the picante is an Italian term. It doesn't mean spicy.
But like when I get my provolone, usually I'm getting it at the deli counter, and it's that provolone picante, which just means. Mike's asking about where'd you get the Ferndale?
From Ferndale themselves. We did a little collab with Karen. And Justin, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you look on my link tree, there is a link to the recipe that we posted for the collab. Maybe you can put it in the.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
There we go. All right, so we're doing a little bit of provolone on the bottom. I really like me some provolone on the bottom. All right. Now I'm going to do this. They also supplied me with some beautiful parm. So Justin, call me crazy.
Wow.
I'm going to go around the sides.
I like that. Yeah, that parm.
I'll do a little parm around the sides.
You know, what's nice about that parm is it just doesn't go too dark.
No.
Doesn't go too dark.
I'm going to do a little more parm around the sides.
Here it is.
So here we go. Put that in the chat and the show notes for people watching on YouTube.
Yep.
So that's a different recipe than this one, but it's a really nice recipe. And again, it was a collab with both Cairn and Ferndale Farmstead, which is an awesome cheese company that I was not familiar with, but now I am, and I really like their cheeses.
Great.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is for my wife. So in Argentina, they do an onion pizza. So I roasted a bunch of onions, and I did something that I don't normally do. I roasted them in olive oil, salt and pepper, a little bit of chili, and a little bit of tomato sauce, because instead of putting tomato sauce on the pizza, I roasted the onions with a little tomato sauce so you get the little umami from the tomatoes without it being too saucy. All right?
Yeah.
So you see my beautiful onions here? Oh, also, definitely a little bit of garlic. They're beautiful. So I'm going to go and grab some onions. Oop. I'm a little later than you. That's my stretch and fold, Justin.
Ay, Dios mío.
All right, so let's put some onions on here. Now, my wife accuses me again and again of conspicuously under-topping her pizzas.
You do that.
She's from Argentina, where they put literally 2 pounds of pizza on a cheese. I'm sorry, 1 kilo.
It's that pizza cognition, baby.
They put so much cheese on their pizza, and you know what? I'm not mad at them. It's a delicious pizza.
But pizza to her.
I cannot eat more than 2 slices of that stuff. It's delicious. Argentinian pizza is delicious, but it's a gut bomb. Don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I still want to come back to Argentina and not be chased around. Justin, I'm doing a lot of onion here. That's because I love my wife. She always says I'm holding it.
My goodness. That is a lot of onion.
It's a lot of onion. She will not accuse me of undertopping this time. Oh, no. And then we're going to hit it with mozzarella cheese, or just mozzarella, because mozzarella is cheese. I grew up saying mozzarella cheese, and that's a very American thing to say. They don't say mozzarella cheese in Italy, do they, Justin?
I don't know what they say.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to get this pizza into the oven, and then we'll do a stretch and fold. I had a friend in nursery school. This is going way back, and he thought that the term football helmet was inadequate to describe what he called a football helmet hat.
Oh,
see what I'm saying there? So by saying football helmet hat, that was confirming that it was a helmet and a hat. And so I used to make fun of him when I was 3.5. And now the Italians make fun of me because you don't need to say mozzarella cheese.
Right.
Right?
All right.
So let's do this. That's looking good. Now I'm going to get my Ferndale Farmstead pre-grated mozz. I have it both ways.
Wow. 3 cheese, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be a 3 cheese. And then I might give it a little more parm.
Jeez Louise, that looks pretty darn good.
It's good. So Annabella's going to be happy for once. She's at the gym right now. Getting her groove on.
She's getting her groove on. She come home carb load, huh?
All right, so it looks like we got about 6 more minutes. So what I'll do is I'm going to wait about 6 minutes to get this one into the oven. And I'll make sure that I get a little more cheese around the outside. So I'm not super obsessed, at least for this class, on getting the Frico. We did a class with Modernist Cuisine, and we showed people how to get the best Frico ever. So Justin, if you have a minute, maybe you can put a link to that one in the chat if people are more obsessed than I am with the Frico crust. Good. So I love me some Frico, don't get me wrong. It looks great on Instagram, but I don't think it adds that much to the overall quality of the pizza. And then Justin, don't hate me. I'm gonna go even more.
Oh no, I'm coming over for a slice of this guy. I'm gonna have to fight Annabella.
You won't have to fight her. She's all eyes. 2 slices and she'll be in bed. All right, good. So this one's ready to go. Justin, I owe you a stretch and fold.
Yeah.
So let me do this. Let me move this pizza over to the side. Let me bring the dough over. We'll do a quick little stretch and fold.
Sounds good.
You want to spotlight my dough cam?
Yep. How do I do that? There we go.
Good. That's my beautiful dough. So normally I wet my hands, but there's no time. We're running late. All right, so I'm going to get in here. Right? I'm going to stretch and fold. Definitely a beautiful and extensible dough. I'm not getting any acidity or sourness yet from the sourdough, but give me 2-3 hours and it'll start to shine through. Beautiful. I really like this dough. Another stretch and fold. Last stretch. Oh, yeah. So
Yeah,
very
looks great.
extensible. Definitely not strong. Beautiful. So this is definitely going to need a second stretch and fold,
And maybe
possibly
yeah.
possibly a third. All right.
All right. Looking good. I got, I'm setting 30 now.
Let's hit 30 now.
Okay.
And then we got about 3 more minutes on the maybe 4 minutes, depending on how you're counting. I'm going to go have a quick look at the at what's
peek.
going on in the oven. I'll
Go
be right
peek.
back. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So, guys, the link that I just put in the chat, that is the link to the Detroit that we did with Chef Magoya, I believe his name was. Hope I'm not butchering it. From Modernist, our good friend Stephanie Swain. I'm butchering that too. Swain. Who we just saw at the old Pizza Fest, the LA Pizza Fest. Get to see Stephanie there, and she's always so sweet with her pizza garb. Is it looking good?
Yeah, it's looking really good actually.
So I was talking.
Go ahead.
I was talking Modernist real quick. Stephanie Swain, who we saw just at
How do we pronounce her name?
Swain, right?
No, Swan. Spelled Swain, pronounced Swan. Just
Sorry, Steph. Sorry.
Oh boy, she's probably in the audience right now or checking it out on YouTube. Why are you always getting me in trouble with your
Look,
Cairnsprings Mill?
I'm trying to do some throwbacks to our friends that have
Okay,
helped us
all right.
out.
Just get their names right. What's
well,
my name?
all right, Noel.
Ah, I knew you were gonna do that.
No,
Justin, that's your French name.
Yes, si, oui.
Good.
I'm in Gay Paris.
You are. All right, so this pizza's looking good. I'm ready for it to go in. All right, we're going to get that one in. You're going to give me a timer, right?
Well, how many minutes? Again, do you want to set?
I think we can do, so based on the pizza the bread I just saw in there, I'm going to say give me a 20-minute timer on that one.
Okay.
All right?
So you're going to move that one up to the top?
I am going to move the other one up to the top and give me another, I don't know, give me another 10 minutes on that.
On that one, okay.
You're gonna say I might burn it, but I don't think so. I'll check it before. I want some browning on my bread.
You burn, you learn, baby.
So right now the tops of the bubbles are nicely brown, but I'm looking for at least 3 shades of brown on this dough. So it looks really beautiful.
I got $1.30 left on before you move it.
All right, so let me do this. Let's call it. I'm going to say we're done. You're not going to say we're done, but it's going to take me $1.30 to get over there and move a few things around.
So 1 minute now.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's pretend that in a minute you're going to start the next timer, 2 timers. We're going to do a 20-minute timer for the Detroit, and we're going to do another 10 minutes for the round pizza nata that's in the oven right now.
Copy that.
All right. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. All right, we're doing the dance. This is what we call it, doing the dance. 20 minutes, that was 15, I think. So starting all the different timers. You want to stay and hang out with us? Sounds good to me. I think what we'll do is while these last ones are cooking, these last 10 minutes or so, last 15 minutes, maybe we'll bring Cam and Jimmy back on to, you going to do another one, bud?
I'm going to do a couple things, actually. So you know what I want to also do, Justin? I'm definitely going to do another one. And then let's do this. I want to check on the actual temperature of this before it's too late. So we were at 89 degrees, and after about 30 minutes, we're down to about 84, 85.
Let's call it 84. Yeah. Great.
All right. So I'm going to say at 30. Dough temp equals 84. So that's good to know. So probably by the next stretch and fold, although it's pretty warm in my apartment right now, it'll be down around 80, which is about where we want to be.
Okay.
All right. So this is important for people who overshoot their desired dough temperature. Not to worry with sourdough. All right.
Right.
Also, for people who don't have the Zoom smell feature yet, my apartment smells great. It's got what I like about this dough is that it's half wild yeast, right? And half all-purpose sourdough. So it's not as sour as it could be if it was the equivalent of 20% levain, right? And it's also got a sweetness, and I'm getting a little more caramelization than I normally do with the all-purpose sourdough from the wild yeast. Oh yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Oh yeah. So I can actually smell the combination because actually this is my first time working with the wild yeast. I've been really focusing on sourdough.
Great.
So I mean I've used it before with Cameron and James, but in my own apartment it's a different thing. So I know all the smells in my own apartment. It's very different from baking down in San Diego or in Las Vegas or somewhere else.
Always.
You know your apartment, right?
I do.
If there's a smell you don't know, there's problems, right?
Right. What's that burning?
What's that burning smell?
All right. So I got a really good question here. So how would you adjust this recipe for a grandma or a Sicilian?
Good question. All right,
Maybe with a Sicilian, go a little higher hydration?
Before I answer that, Justin, do you have both timers on?
I do.
Promise?
Yes, I have 7 minutes and 27 on your 10 top. I've got 17:20 on your 20 minutes bottom, Detroit, and I have 24 minutes and 16 seconds.
Oh, look at you!
On your
I'm sorry I ever doubted you.
How dare you? How dare you?
All right, so hold on. I will answer that question. Give me one sec. Okay. Say the question again.
So Achyut was asking, is the dough recipe we shared today best for Detroit? Yeah, yes. I mean, it's
perfect for Detroit. What was the second question?
How would you adjust it for a grandma or a Sicilian?
Good.
Now, grandma and Sicilian are different. I mean, are they the same dough? No.
Well, they can be. So let's assume we're using the same dough. We want to use this dough for three different versions. So here's what I would say. For a grandma style version, there's absolutely no proofing. So what I would do is, and I don't have any extra dough for this, what I would do is I would take the dough ball, I would put it in some flour, I would stretch it, flip it, stretch it, flip it, pan it, right? Turn it around, dimple, pull the sides, dimple, pull the sides, top, stretch, bake. It's à la minute. There is no proofing. There's no waiting. It's à la minute, as they say in French. For the Detroit, I didn't really proof it at all. I just let it sit out for a bunch of hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours, depending on a bunch of things. The hydration, whether or not you're using a Poolish, and also the temperature in your kitchen. So let's say 4 or 5 hours, could be less. If you wanted to, if you didn't have that much time, in a kitchen, we'll often let the dough sit out for an hour, proof it for an hour, and then it should be ready to go within about an hour, if not immediately. I don't like to really press out hot dough at 80 degrees. I like to let it cool back off a little bit. But if you proof it for, let's say, 30 minutes to 60 minutes, it gets the juices flowing, it gets the bubbles popping and bursting, makes the dough a little more active. Now, for a Sicilian, I would say you can let it sit out for longer, and also if you want to proof it for longer, you can. I know guys in New York who put their Sicilians on the top of the oven to let it proof. I know people in New York who let their Sicilians sit next to the oven, or put it in a nice warm place. And I also know people who proof it. Yeah. So depending on how much yeast you've got in there, proofing and a nice long set outside of the refrigerator before you bake it is a nice thing. I even know people who let it sit out overnight.
Right.
If it's not too hot. All right.
Proof at 80 degrees, you were saying?
No, just let it proof out overnight. So I would say, not proof, I would say they let it retard overnight. So let me do this. Let me just double check that first little round naked pie. Okay. Make sure it's not getting too much color. I'll be right back.
Okay, we got 4 minutes left.
Perfect. And then we're gonna get the second pie into the oven.
Great.
All right?
Great.
Thanks.
Awesome. hopefully that's answering everybody's questions, guys. If you still have any unanswered questiones, don't be afraid to throw them in the old chatties. And I think as we are winding down, hopefully we'll get to see some nice. I'm having auditory hallucinations or oral factory hallucinations because I almost smelled some pizza.
Oh, it
Almost
smells so
smelled
good in
some
there. 2 more minutes. Give me 2 more
Okay.
minutes, Justin.
All right. 2, that's it. That's all we need.
Yeah, I mean, I could go longer. I don't want it to get too dark.
Yeah. Joel's asking about 10 by 14 Detroit, 14 by 14 Sicilian, just as far as like dough weights for those type of pans.
It depends how thick you like it. So, for
Yeah.
instance, I don't like my Detroits too thick. So an 8 by 10 for me is 250 to 265,
hmm
and a 10 by 14, which is about twice the size, I like it anywhere from about 500 to maybe 530 grams. Some people go as I've seen some people go 600 for the big ones.
Yeah.
I've seen people go 300, even 350 for the small ones. But that is like a very thick Detroit.
Yeah, you're eating a brick of bread with just. But hey, look, if that's what you like, that's what you like. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandmas and are all over the place. So in general, a grandma pie is going to be the same amount of dough as your 18-inch or 20-inch.
Mhm.
So if you are using, let's say, for instance, an 18-inch pizza and it's on the thin side, maybe 600 grams, then probably you could get away with a 14-inch pan. Or if you like it extra thin, a 16-inch pan.
Mhm.
If you are making a grandma, also there's different ways to make a grandma. You can do like Lee Hunsinger, who's going to be here in LA next week with us. He does his grandmas square. A lot of people do their grandmas in a half sheet pan, right? Which is 13 by 18. And so again, they're using whatever size dough they're using for their 18 to 20 inch. So I would say probably closer to 800 grams for an 13 by 18. But everybody's a little bit different. Depends how thin you like it. I like my grandma's extra thin.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I went to Best Pizza in Brooklyn, and that was one of the best grandmas I ever had.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was super thin. Super thin. Up. Don't go anywhere.
What do we got? Okay, here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Get your cooling rack out, everybody. Get your cooling rack there. How did I know, guys? How did I know? Here comes. Whoa. So we definitely got some color on there, huh? Yeah. Definitely clairvoyant. Woo! Oh, baby. You hit that with some olive oil, huh? Wow, wow, wowie, wow, huh?
Looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, definitely looks good.
So, it was these bubbles here that I didn't pop that I was like, if I let it go any longer, they're going to get maybe a
Black.
little on the burn side.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for those, which I might in hindsight have popped, I could have gone easy another 2-3 minutes because the
Yeah.
rest of this, I mean, it's brown, but it's not overly brown.
No, it looks good.
All right, so let's see. Just so everybody knows, in terms of utensils, I've got these. This is a really nice slotted spatula right here that I like to use for my Detroits.
Does that say Benihana on it?
It should.
Okay.
And then this is a slightly larger one, so I like to use the smaller one to release the sides. It's got like a super, I don't know if you can see it, it's got a super sharp edge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's really nice for going around and making sure that it's not sticking.
And
So-
scraping paint.
And scraping paint. But, Justin, for these round pies, I need to find another spatula here because that's not really going to work.
You need your little offset, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to use this guy right here.
Okay.
It's not an offset, but you could also use this to frost a cake.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little shrinkage in there. So
There's a tiny bit of shrinkage, not much. It could even be stuck. I'm not sure. Could even be stuck. We're going to find out the hard way. Oh, it's not stuck at all.
Nope.
Comes out real nice. So here's what we're going to do. Came out beautifully. Not mad at it.
Yeah.
I'm going to peek underneath Oh, it's perfect. Ha ha ha. Justin,
Oh, I want to see.
I'm gonna show you. Hold on, I don't want to burn myself. Please hold.
Don't.
I'm not gonna brag, but for once I guessed right. So if I would not have moved this to the top rack after 15 minutes, it would have been too dark. So let's have
Yeah.
a look. Ready?
Yeah. Whoa, that does look great.
It's really nice.
That's
So
perfect.
this is exactly how I wanted it. I want it dark and deep and rich. That's what I really like. So I'm going to let this cool. And then who knows? I may this is not on Annabella's menu.
Okay,
So
right.
I might be able to give you a crumb shot.
Oh, there we go.
Because she's all about that onion pie, and I'm going to do a cauliflower pie next because she loves those. All right.
Yeah.
So Justin, let me do this. Let me move this aside. So mission accomplished on the round pie.
Nice.
How are we doing time-wise on the first Detroit in the oven?
I've got, I believe, 8 minutes on that guy. 8
All right,
minutes.
so let's do this. I'm assuming we're good to go. So we're going to do the same thing we did on the last pie, and I'm going to push the dough from the middle towards the outside,
Copy.
middle to the outside, middle to the outside. And then I'm going to do middle to the corners, middle to the corners. At the risk of repeating myself, middle to the corners, and this should be good. Look at that bubble. It won't pop, and I'm not mad at it.
Oh,
All right. So Justin, we're going to repeat what we did before because I have a good feeling about that guy. Let me just do one thing before I do it. Let me just double check the browning on that. I'll be right back.
sounds great. Sounds great. I know, Mike, as everybody, I'm excited to see him cut. We're finally going to get our crumb shot. I'm excited. I am excited.
Justin, answer me this.
Yeah.
How long has that Detroit been in the oven?
It has been in for 14 minutes.
All right, good. So I also moved that one from the hearth to the top rack, just in case I get the same level of browning as the last one.
Well, that one we only had in there for 15, so
we had it on that one. We had on the hearth for 15, but then it went
up
almost 10 minutes at the top. I think I pulled it at about 8.
Do you want me
so it was
to
15 plus 8.
What do you want me to do? Give you a little bit more.
I still think the 20-minute mark is good, and it'll probably go another 5 just to make sure I get the top browning.
Okay.
And then we'll do the same thing. We'll let it come out. We'll have a look at it. We'll depan it. We'll look at the bottom and see if it needs to be put back on the hearth.
Put on the hearth for a second.
Just
if
to kiss
we need any love.
Correctamundo. All right. So let's do this, Justin. If you wouldn't mind spotlighting my dough cam here. I think that first little combo that we did is going to work really well. So let's try this again. Should I be afraid of that bubble? I'm afraid of that bubble. It's a little too strong.
Yeah,
it's a little
give
too
it
strong.
a little
It's so strong it barely pops. This is some strong dough.
Some strong mother stinking doge.
Yeah. So let's do this. A little provolone on the bottom. A little probe on the bottom. And we're going to do the same thing we did on the last one, Justin.
Okay.
We're going to hit the sides with a little bit of Ferndale Farmstead Parm.
Oh, yeah.
They gave this to me like 3 different ways. They gave me some nice little triangles.
Oh, cool.
They gave me the pre-graded, and then they gave me some quarter wheels, which I haven't even broken into those yet, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Dang.
So, Justin, see if you can find a link for Fernsdale Farmstead.
Let me see.
And put that in the chat there. I really like this company. And I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it because when they asked me to do a collab with them, I went and looked them up, and a lot of our friends, including Dan Richer from Rotza, were followers. So it was only new to me. And I'm gonna make this even a little more cheesy than the last one. I'm gonna give us a little bit of mozz on the bottom. Last time we only did mozz on the top.
Oh, there we go.
And mostly just a little bit of mozz around the side. Nothing too crazy.
Ferndale Farmstead.
Yep. All singular, right?
Yeah.
A lot easier than the
seed
cairn.
To cheese.
There you go.
That's
husband and wife team. Very impressive. keeping it in the family, as it were. So, Justin, here's what we're going to do.
Talk to me.
Let's
You
have
said
a
you
look.
got some cauliflower, huh?
I sure do. So I'm going to put some. This is roasted cauliflower. I roasted it with olive oil. I roasted it with salt. I roasted it with black pepper, green pepper, white pepper, and some really nice African red pepper. How about that?
Oh, dang. All
Crazy.
kinds of peppers.
I love me some pepper.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of garlic. Nothing too crazy here, Justin.
No. No.
Good. So this is I love me some cauliflower pizza. My wife likes her some onion pizza. So this is going to be what I'm going to eat. And then I was thinking about putting some onions on it, but you know what? I think I'm not going to put some onions on it.
Oh,
I think I'm just going to put. I think I'm going to put some cheese on it. I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil left over. I'm going to make one more onion pizza either during the class or after we're done, just to keep the esposa contenta. But sorry about my broken Spanish.
No, it stopped. Yeah,
make my wife happy. All right, so that looks good. I'm going to put a little more mozzarella cheese, as we like to say in America.
Yeah, that's looking good.
What do they say on the East Coast? They say mutz.
Moots.
No, I don't know if they say moots. I think they say mutz.
Mutz. M-U.
Mutz.
Mutz.
This is I have a lot of family on the East Coast. They're in Long Island, New Jersey.
The mozzarella.
Well, yeah. Justin, where's your family from again?
Originally from Ohio,
Really?
but I'm from Virginia.
Yeah, I think they say moots down there.
Oh, they definitely.
Moots.
Mootzz.
There we go.
Moots.
All right, so Justin, I'm going to put this in shortly. We're going to need a new timer for this. So how much longer do we have on the Detroit that's in there?
It says 2:10, 2 minutes.
2:10, and that'll be 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
So I'll check that. This is going to be really nice. I'm happy about this.
So you want another 20 on this guy?
I want another 20 on this guy. And actually, here's what we're going to do. Give me a 15 on this, and then we'll move it up.
A what?
All right? 15, and then we'll move it up to the top rack. All right? Thank you, sir. Be right back.
Sounds good. All right, starting at 15 there, and he should be moving the other one up if he didn't already. Pop up in Australia. I don't know. Mike, you got to ask. I'm sure he'd love to come out to Australia. Get the flour. When are you going to Australia? Are you going to go out there and do a pop-up? No?
I am not going to Australia to do a pop-up.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry, he's not coming.
We're working with at Leaven Foods. We've got some guys that are doing, we're working with in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And they're using our product. Maybe if Cameron and James happen to pop back on, they can tell us where these guys are.
They told me that they had to go home.
Oh, that's so sad.
They're not coming back on. It's just you and me wrapping it up.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna grant you your wish for once.
Yes. Oh, goodness.
We're gonna cut open that first one, and we're gonna check out the crumb.
I've got 45 seconds on that first Detroit.
First Detroit, good. Let me go check it, and I think it's gonna need another 5. In fact,
okay,
I'm almost
copy
positive.
that.
Be right back.
Right. Another 5 on the first Detroit. Another 5. What are we thinking? Uh-oh. He's got that look in his eyes. Up. He's doing the dance, everybody. Doing the dance. Yep. Oh, cool. All right. Here we go.
Let's see here. That looks good.
Good looking.
It is good looking.
Looks like you might need a new cutting board. But
I do need a new cutting board. Yeah. You know, this one, we wash, we bleach. I need a new one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Really nice.
Here we go. Whoa. Don't make a big deal out of the crumb.
It's a really nice one, right?
Looks great.
Bring it up over here.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I was hoping for. Really nice.
Looks really
Smells
nice.
really good. Just in case you think I was faking it, let's look at the other one. Ooh.
You gonna come drop that off for me, bud?
Ooh.
Drop me off. Do a little drive-by.
How about this? Nice,
Looks pretty
right?
good. Looks pretty good.
So I might even take a little slice for myself here.
Looks pretty good.
What's that timer, Justin? What's that timer? Oh. How much time do we have for the Detroit in the oven?
Looks pretty good. I know,
How much more time for the Detroit in the oven?
All right, I've got for the Detroit in the oven.
So good.
Oh, I put another 5 on there, right?
Yeah, so how much?
Yeah, it's like about 4 minutes. I didn't press go.
All right, we're good.
Oh,
We're good.
You're just eating that in front of me, in front of everybody?
It's so crunchy, I have to raise my mic up.
Oh my gosh.
Great.
Dude,
Super light,
You got to bring
super
some
airy,
by.
not too sour.
Bring some by. Just drop it off.
Really good.
Come on. I'll come by and I'll save the half that loaf for me. I want to try the microbes.
So good. I'm really happy with this.
I'm gonna pop over tomorrow. Wrap that. Wrap it.
Really good. All right, so Justin.
Yep.
In about 2 minutes, I'm going to go pull that Detroit out.
I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see you depan it.
I don't know. It might be too hot to the pan.
Oh, okay.
There's all that molten cheese on top.
Yeah.
But we have an idea from this one that 15 minutes on the hearth was enough to get the browning we wanted.
Yeah.
Right?
What did you end up doing up on top?
A little less than 10.
Okay. Yeah, about 8, right? I think.
Yeah, just because those bubbles were starting to get pretty brown. Oh.
It's about a 23-minute bake altogether, huh?
Okay. Then we'll have a look at that Detroit. I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Wow, that looks pretty good, huh? Yeah, nice crumb. Nice crumb, guys. Anybody was wondering what that crumb was going to look like, got our first crumb shots. Finally. Pretty fun. So, all right, I want to see this Detroit. I want to see that onion cheesiness. Whoa. There we go.
That thing is sizzling. There's
Yeah,
no
it
way
looks
I'm
great.
depanning that guy. It looks really nice. So, because there's so much cheese on it, it's hard to see the browning, but some of the tips of some of the onions, I don't know if you can see.
Peeking through.
Yeah, they're peeking through. Pretty nice. So, you know what I am going to do? I think that the edges are pretty firm. I'm going to let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then we might try to depan it, just to be dangerous. All right, so let's do this, Justin. We've been going for almost 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I think we should start to wind things down.
Sounds okay with me.
It sounds to me like I've got a Detroit in the oven right now that needs how long before I move it up?
I feel like you've got another 8 minutes on that.
Good. So I'll make sure that I do that right, because that'll happen after the class.
Right. And but you do owe me another stretch and fold in about 2.
So here's what we'll do. I'm going to move this aside temporarily. All right.
Check in with our dough that we made.
Checking with our dough. Looking good. Move it right on over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Looking great.
Looks a lot. Yeah, looks great.
So normally I would wet my hands, but this dough right here. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. So it's still got a lot of extensibility. And so I would say that if you were going to bulk retard it overnight, the second stretch and fold would be enough. If you want to ball tonight, which I'm going to do, then one more stretch and fold will be perfect.
Gotcha.
Annabella, your onion pie just came out. Yep. Get a whoop whoop from Annabella.
There we go.
Argentina in the house. That's not how you say it.
So what are you thinking? You're going to do one more in 30, or are you going to ball it tonight, or are you going to let it sit?
You know what? I might do one more. It depends. I might do one more in 60, and then we'll see.
Okay.
In general, If you're doing, let's say, a 4-hour bulk, then you would usually do one at 60, one at 2 hours, and then let it go 4 hours, right?
Okay.
But for classes, I usually rush the first stretch and fold just so we can get 2 stretch and folds in
During the class.
Yeah, during the class. So I did a 30, and then I did a 60, and so I'll probably do another one in about an hour.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say about an hour from that, I will ball and then put it into the refrigerator at 40 degrees overnight.
Great. Good.
That is my plan. All right?
Sounds good. You want to weasel in? You want to see if you can weasel that little guy out?
I do. That'll be the last thing we do.
We'll wrap it up and say our goodbyes to these fine people.
Yeah. So having the right tools to depan these guys is really important. And so what I like to do is have at least 2 different size spatulas. You can't really tell, but this one is actually, geez, I'm backward here. So this guy right here, it's got a nice sharp edge. Can you see it? And it's really good for getting the cheese and the sauce and the dough to separate. Mm-hmm. And then once you've gone around the sides, then this one is slightly bigger. It's actually about half the size of an 8x10.
Wow.
Yeah, so it actually is pretty perfect because I can lift the whole thing up and it won't crack in half.
Great.
All right, so here's what we're going to do, Justin. Got my trusty dusty little towel here. I'm going to come around on this side. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, look. Looks
really nice.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, so it's not sticking and that's good. It's my first time doing a Detroit with the Ferndale farmstead, so you never really know between the fat and the moisture and the combination of cheeses how it's going to work, but this one I think is working excellent. So
yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, so let me do this. I'm going to come around. Underneath. Bring it down here. Looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks great. Now, Noel, did you grease the pans with anything other than olive oil?
Just a little bit of olive oil. Nothing too crazy. And then let's do this, Justin, just for fun. It's not like a crazy Frico or anything like that, but let me show you what we have.
Yeah. It's nice.
So hold on. I'll show you what we got here. I'm going to bring it up to the straight ahead cam here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually really nice. I'm not looking for like a Justin and Apollonia style Frico.
Sure.
I just need a little bit of crisp, a little bit of crunch.
Well, you can definitely see the different colors in the parm and the mozzarella.
Now I cannot show you the bottom, but it's exactly like the first one.
Okay.
So it's a deep, dark brown. It does not need to be.
Doesn't need to go on the hearth at all.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it looks really nice. So
good.
Hopefully
deal.
Annabella will be happy. How much longer do I have on the cauliflower pie?
The cauliflower pie has 4 minutes and 35 seconds, but you owe me a stretch and fold. Oh wait, we already did the stretch and fold.
Yeah. So let's do this. I'll pull the cauliflower pie out shortly, and I'm gonna make one more onion pie when we're done with class.
Copy that.
So I would like to thank Cameron and James who had to go.
Yep.
We wouldn't be here without them and their beautiful microbes. So thanks, guys. I think we have another successful class under our proverbial belts.
Indeed.
Justin, I'd like to thank you for showing up on a Monday. I know there's a lot of places you could be. And I wish you luck on your pizza party tonight. I hope that your spinach, pepperoni, garlic confit, and avocado pie comes out great.
Yeah. It's going to be delicious. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. This is open source pizza party, pizza making as we go into the great unknown with Leaven Foods and their sourdough microbes. A lot of the things, even if you don't want to use the sourdough microbes, hopefully you gleaned a lot of knowledge and you took copious notes. So if you want to go into your own, mix and bake and make and all that good stuff, that you've got some good information, at least a good starting point to jump off from. So please, Noel, when are we back? Not next week, because we're doing the Electric Company Pizza Oven Expo.
That's going to be Tuesday the 10th. So we're going to skip Monday the 9th. So I would say Monday the 16th.
Great. And what's the game plan then?
I think we're going to double the inclusion rate again to 40% Levain equivalent or 0.4 IDY. And we're going to go for something very similar to the high hydration dough that we did for the Pizza Expo, which a lot of people really enjoyed.
Great. Great.
All right.
So we will see everybody in 2 weeks or so. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you had fun, tell your friends. If you did not, go ahead. Tell your enemies. Make them come suffer through our bologna. Here at Slow Rise Pizza, we're goofballs and ne'er-do-wells and a bunch of ragamuffins, but we are passionate about the pie, and you know the deal. We do not get into the politics of pepperoni and pineapple, my friends. Oh no, we say pizza always and always pizza. So thank you so much, pieces and slices. We love you guys. Mwah! I gotta get the settings back. Huh?
What usually happens at this point when you do
I don't
that?
know. I get like fireworks or confetti.
Nothing.
Who knows?
Not
Anyway,
Justin. It must be the upgrade.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.